onto OHEB. And right now, for our international viewers, you're seeing the reason as to why Marky has been hailed as the gold standard. He has been the mentor for gold laners in the Philippines.
I thought Beloyski stole that for a second. He tried.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep putting the pressure, right? Now, this is going to be most likely Turtle once again going to the hands of Geek Fam. They have this lead. Luke's feeling pretty good, and they'll take it. So another objective taken. So where does Blacklist International start to put the pressure on, knowing that now they've given up these 2 objectives? They're playing at this tune of Geek Fam. What do they focus on here, Renmar?
At some point, they're going to have to call for a switch or maybe just give up 1 turtle and just gank a lane altogether, maybe 4 or 5-man dive alongside OHEB to give him a little bit of a lead already. Because right now, Geek Fam are just controlling every turtle or wherever Luke is. Again, the difference between the Lapu-Lapu Arlot matchup, the XP lane right now, for Geek Fam is just a little bit more, how do we say this, proactive around the map. And it's really affecting the turtle or objective focused playstyle of Blacklist International.
You know, normally I would say that this isn't the end of the world for Blacklist.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is one of the things that Geek Fam has done, it's not like they got 3 of these kills onto Sensui or the Roamer Renny J. They get 2 of them onto OHEB, which is huge for Geek Fam. Blacklist might try to get another one here. They're going to try to work on this gear through the top side. OHEB will get caught. Heartguard comes in terrified, and he's taken out. Renny J forced to back off, and Geek Fam take the first tower of the game.
So that's tough. You know, you were just talking about OHEB, how he had those 2 deaths. Now he's got 3. He's kind of just shut down right now in this lane. So this is what it transitions to, right? You have to be able to build back up. It's good that you got that purple, but you know, with that, again, your gold lane is struggling. Look at the deficit here between the gold lane.
Yeah, now Blacklist International are definitely going to be playing into the late game. Marky honestly just has free reign here, but you got to appreciate here the gusto of OHEB and the trust that he has into Yue to supply his lane with Star Shatters when needed to get a little bit more damage onto Marky. So that's a glowing sign for Blacklist International that OHEB, it doesn't seem like he's changed up his aggression. Maybe he can be a little bit more careful, but it's a good sign that he's not giving up. He's not just taking it all in. He's doing everything that he can to find a way to turn it around single-handedly. So this is what we're getting now. What we talked about earlier, Blacklist with a 4-man gank, as Geek Fam are going to be committing 2 onto the turtle.
Okay, so again, focusing it. Yeah, that's another turtle. Going to the hands of Geek Fam here, 3 for 3, furthering the gold lead, 3.5K ahead now. So once again, you're 7 minutes in. You got to build something up before that first Lord comes up if you're Blacklist International. And then look at the pressure still going.
Now going to come in, another I'm offended on Sensui, going to pull him in, take him out. Beloyski finds the kill. Geek Fam going to back off. They got what they came for. That's 5-0. This is a huge lead for Geek Fam.
I think this is now a sign for Blacklist International that especially when you're up against Geek Fam and Beloyski has one of his comfort picks and you're playing a heal or support type roamer, a squishy roam mid duo, it's gonna be difficult. And add to that the fact that the Arlot versus Lapu-Lapu right now, Luke just has Edward in check. It's no surprise that Geek Fam, with their systematic aggression, has just taken control of this game right now. They're moving like the Ford assembly line. Henry Ford himself would be proud of the efficiency of Geek Fam right now.
Very efficient, right? I mean, that's the other thing is you have to, we were building it up into it. They talked about this a lot in the panel leading into this matchup. It's going to be a different Geek Fam, at least from what we've seen for the previous games so far, you know, back in Knockout 1 even. And so far, it looks like they've just refined the playstyle. Again, they have a huge lead right now against Blacklist International. It's not to a point where it's dire, but Sensui
might be in trouble again. I'm offended lands him arcing to the back line with a blazing duet, putting tons of damage down on Renny J, trying to find you. Flickers back, OHEB in trouble now. Luke comes in with the bravest fighter and finds 2. Blacklist International crumbling under Geek right now.
Wow, the miracle of Indonesia are making magic work right now. Away from their home country, well, for Beloyski and Marky, they're back home. They are doing so well in this lower bracket matchup, in this elimination match, completely dominating. And it looks like they've really come into this with an understanding of how they want to play and how Blacklist wants to play. And they're just taking control.
And what they're doing so well right now is they're combining, you know, their team fight, their 5v5, clean mechanics, but they're also adding the macro level. They've been attacking the off lanes. They've been suffocating Blacklist so well.
And with that Lord taken here, once again, objectives clearly all for Geek Fam. There isn't even a single turret down just yet for Blacklist International. They're going to have to find some way, somehow, to get movement, space around the map at some point. But right now, it's just trying to catch your breath, right? Again, looking at the gold lane specifically, Oheb is just not where he needs to be to even provide. When he gets the crossbow of Tang off, it's most likely not going to even get rid of anybody. So still, how much time do you buy here for Blacklist?
At this point, they're going to have to buy a lot of time or punish a attempt by Geek Fam to end the game early on. You know, we've seen it happen so many times. They go into the inhibitor, they dive it, but then it just doesn't turn out well for them. Conceal play by Beloyski.
Conceal play is coming. Geek Fam decide not to overextend themselves. Another wave will be coming down the mid side. Not able to break an inhibitor just yet, but they still gain a lot of ground, and 2 more waves coming soon. Ooh.
Yep, the shots are starting to hurt. Beloyski's going to take that one, get back to base. Again, you're nearing that 10,000 gold deficit for Blacklist. Beloyski.
Too close.
Still playing with danger here, right?
Yeah.
Also, big item pickups here. Oh boy, just got the Divine Glaive, as if he's not already doing enough damage. You can see it, right? But there is a struggle here. And the fact, too, that Oheb is on the 2nd of damage received, it's been a tough time for the gold lane for Blacklist.
Yeah, and I don't think Blacklist International are too surprised. Well, I'm sure they're surprised that Geek Fam dominated the game so quickly in this fashion. But I think they went into this game, especially after the draft, that they know that they're going to have to give up some mid-game, early game control. That is going to be Geek Fam's game early on, and then they'll just slowly build up and ramp up from there, try to get a counter punch. But Geek Fam respected that. They didn't allow Blacklist International to get that turnaround moment that they were looking for, especially in the earlier skirmishes. So now it's just going to be full turtle, and by that we mean full base defense as US still securing that purple buff for Blacklist International. He's been on point. I feel like at this point you can add a sound effect to the Star Shatter as it's flying. It's just going US.
Probably, right? But what he's got to do is obviously he's scaling pretty well. And as the game goes on, let's just say 5-8 minutes from now, if this is still going on, then some of that poke potential from UA is actually going to play a course in a lot of these team fights leading on, right? But right now, it's just, like I said, 10,000 gold deficit. There's the Wind of Nature being picked up. Is that the sign now, Renmar, where, okay, we can at least take a little bit of shot here to actually fight, to contest? We have a Heart Guard as well.
It's 28K to 38K and about to get there. I think even with a Wind of Nature, this will be a bit too risky. So at this point, Blacklist International counterplay looks good,
I mean, honestly, I feel like the only member that's honestly a saving grace is UA. He's the only one that has gone deathless so far. He's been able to farm. He's been able to use the range of that meteor to farm purple buffs, to farm some waves here and there when the rest of the team can't. Geek Fam should be able to get this Lord uncontested. Blacklist deciding to go for the upper lane, deciding to macro a little bit, and then turtle back up.
Yeah, again, they got to get some space to work around, right? Even if it's just one turret at a time, that's really where they want to focus. And as they kind of get situated here, they're going to have to defend now. Once again, second Lord of the game. You know, high ground defense-wise, you can expect that Geek Fam has the tools they need and the lead they need to actually force a fight, even if Blacklist doesn't want to.
Yeah, this is what we call throwing bodies.
Yep.
Like Geek Fam can literally just throw bodies and try to end it here. They still have to be careful, but it looks so easy for them.
Speaking of throwing bodies, a big I'm offended locks on Oheb, the Heart Guard. Able to maybe save him. He's backing up, he's fighting, he's trying to get away. They're chasing him down, but he's still able to pull it off. Oheb, avoid, flickers back in. Oheb over to safety. The Lord is coming into the base. Geek decide to switch lanes as Niall keep 2 members distracted. Who's just gonna keep home? He's going to let Oheb go back. This might be the end for Renegade. The Lord is going to crash in. Geek Fam ready to break through. Luke looking for that big hit onto the backside. Someone go away. Beloyski goes down. Sensui able to find him. Markey going to chip away at the mid inhibitor. Geek Fam still backing off. They were able to take 2 towers down, still holding a large gold lead.
It ain't over till it's over. It doesn't look good for Blacklist International, but you got to admit, what Oheb and Renegade did there may have saved the sequence for Blacklist International, buying enough time, making sure that Niall wouldn't be there, and that meant Beloyski had to be the main front line for Geek Fam in that scenario, and he falls in a Blacklist. Can they find a window to somehow break a turret, to find a few more resources to turn the game around, or is Geek Fam still going to continue applying the chokehold?
Still a strong chokehold, right? 12,000 ahead. And once again, Blacklist International has no space to move around with. They don't even have a turret at this point, but if they can still survive some of these fights, punish a mistake, they could possibly at least get a body or two, but look at how much Geek Fam wants.
Dive. Bravest Fighter lands on a Sensui. The stun connects and Sensui goes down. Geek Fam, don't come out just yet. This is still our jungle, but a boy gonna get caught off, forcing the winner. Crunchy on Marky getting free shots. The Terrified and Edward taken out. 2 members of Blacklist fall. Geek Fam still inside of the base. A wave of minions closing in on the top side. Oheb maybe gonna get a hard guard here. Marky gets a hard guard for himself. He's gonna lock onto the base, and Geek Fam against the odds take game number 1.
A very strong showing here for Geek Fam as they come out refined and ready to go against the home crowd, Blacklist International.
They start off the series hot, stone cold. Our Geek Fam, if the Filipino fans in Blacklist thought this would be a walk in the park, Geek Fam had other plans today.
What a run.
What a run.
What a run. This is game number 1 in Geek Fam. I mean, we thought they could win, but like that, 12K gold lead at the end, and you guys talked about throwing bodies. They were literally able to do that. It didn't matter if one of them went down. With such a lead, they could just lock onto the base. A beautiful heart guard there to make sure Marky could just unload.
It's weird because, you know, a lot of people were contemplating, again, the change roster-wise, right? How is it going to look? Man, I love that Niall was back too. He was very decisive, but Marky in the gold lane once again, very aggressively playing against Oheb in the early game, punishing him, getting those couple kills and working around that. That's really where that momentum started. We talked about Blacklist International being the snowball-centric team. Well, this time they went with the, heel man.
Yeah.
But Geek Fam came out swinging.
Yeah, this feels like a big wake-up call, especially for Blacklist International, that Geek Fam are prepared to do this. So this is how they want to play. Proactive EXP lane. A gold lane matchup where Marky can just be aggressive, just on his own. Not a lot of help, and then actually getting solo kills onto OM, even with a hard guard already on him. So now Blacklist International need to adjust their playstyle here and say, we can't just be defensive and passive. We got to be aggressive.
Well, again, to break down this game number 1 that was heavily in favor of Geek Fam further, let's go ahead and throw it to our panelists. Mirko, Leo, take it away.
It was a lethal check by a Geek Fam as they take first blood in this best of 5 against Blacklist International. Welcome to the analyst stand at your service. My name is Leo here with Mirko, and let's start this out by talking about that draft. It was clear that Geek Fam came to play, Geek Fam came to fight, and at the forefront of that, they had a Vanguard. They had an MVP that just pushed the tempo starting minute 1.
For sure. I mean, firstly, I want to bring it back to the draft itself, right? The way that Blacklist International drafted for themselves, it really felt like they were really focused on creativity. But then they got a bit too creative with their flex picks. Meanwhile, on the other side, Geek Fam with the Claw, super honest pick in the first phase as well to counter the 1-1. And yes, though a lot of people might think 1-1 versus Claude is a skill matchup, it really depends. If both of them are as good, I would actually have to give it to the Claude that has a bit more pressure in that lane. And that's exactly what we saw from Marky. He was able to lane perfectly here, utilizing full stacks on his passive to get that mobility, to get out of every single initiation that Oheb was trying to force upon him.
And given the mobility, Marky actually, as soon as he felt it, stepped on the clutch and said, you know what, it's game time. Drew first blood early on and just gave hell to a Blacklist International. Really just softened up, tenderized that gold lane. And next thing you know, you're looking at a 2K gold lead at 5 minutes. And a good chunk of that, I'd assume, was put on to the young Marky Capacio, aka the solution. Here, I think they're past the age of problems. They're more in there, all right, we're back together. It's first day of knockouts, day 2. Marky at your lead. And here, he did lead. And here, he's leading his team into a 1-0 start. And again, if it's your gold laner that's having a good time, the concept of the gold lane experience came out in the group stage. Now in the knockouts, Marky's just claiming it.
And if you think about it again, it makes complete sense. Marky has been placed in the jungle. 2 matches where he did phenomenally, right? The fact that he did so well in the jungle, his off-roll has only given him even more confidence, and you can see it from the builds here, Leo. Sea Halberd into possibly a Windtalker last item. He did not even care about the Wind of Nature. No need, right? The Arlet was shut down in the early game. So was the Wanwan in his own lane. You can see that first blood by the Solution, and this is the first blood, or not first blood, but the first solo kill in the XP lane as well that I was trying to talk about, right? The fact that he doesn't need to care about any of the physical damage. Heck, it even feels like he doesn't really need to care about Yue's damage here because the frontliners from Geek Fam do such a good job of zoning Yue to create such a safe space for a boy and Marky.
That's right. One of the few things that Blacklist had going for them was vision and map presence. Because again, the global nature of the Angela, and of course just the vision. You're looking at what? At best a quarter of the map with the Astral Echoes. Meant nothing to Geek Fam because again, they were so forward, they were so fast, and they knew that they could close this gap. As mentioned by our casters, the early game belongs to Geek Fam, but what if they played so fast and played just so in your face that they made it feel like everything was the early game, and they ended up pretty quick. Again, sub 15 minutes, this was just overloading Geek Fam on the play this time around, not even giving Blacklist any room to breathe.
And I love what Reptar said in the game there. He said systematic aggression. I really like that. It's systematic, but it's just Geek Fam playing with the tempo. Right, when Blacklist International are so used to going up against systematic teams, you need to shift that tempo up a little bit through, obviously, solo kills that definitely help, but also how active they are on the map. In a lot of scenarios, you will see a lot of setup being done by a lot of other teams. For Geek Fam, they sacrifice a whole lot of their lane prio to rotate faster, sacrificing their own lanes, but to get the other lanes, the most important ones being the gold and the mid ahead. Especially when it comes to the turtle setups, you can definitely see this, right? The fact that someone, let's say Luke or even Marky, was able to rotate just a bit faster with the tempo lead that they have, it forced Blacklist to a complete bad spot. They weren't really able to adapt to that kind of tempo.
Which is, again, evident in when you look at their macro plays. There are moments wherein even Baloyski's hook, even Baloyski's I'm Offended would displace their core heroes. I'm looking at Tintuin, I'm looking at Oheb, and sometimes you're just saying, please, Geek Fam, stop. Please, Geek Fam, stop. Here are the emblems that allowed for Geek Fam to do this. Again, you're not seeing a lot of Wilderness Blessing is because they don't really cut through the river anymore. They're actually just saying, you know what, we're gonna rotate fast. Marky, you got the sprint, everybody else go on flicker, and then we go commit hard. There was not a single, I think, not a single failed rotation on Geek Fam throughout this sub 15-minute game.
Not at all, and they didn't even need the Wilderness Blessing, like you mentioned, Leo. And even towards the later stage of the game, you could see that for the side of Luke, he was extremely tanky, but he didn't actually have to sacrifice a whole lot of damage. Just the Fury Hammer and the Bloodlust Axe alone was able to get him to places where he was able to dive, deal damage, zone the backline, but also stay tanky as their main frontliner with Nile. Nile on the other side, man, Leo, Nile just had an amazing game, right? Back first time after 2 matches. Damn.
Looking at the damage coming in from Yue, despite struggling, not actually getting a full build, because again, a lot of the mid-game to the late-game transition for Blacks International was on him. He did his job. He was able to deal a solid sub 50k damage, but again, at 15 minutes, it's not the ideal situation for Blacklist. And as expected, it is indeed the solution right here. Who is our rich guy? He's the one who's able to farm up, because again, if you get first blood and you're able to set up that quickly, and you're able to deal this much damage, doesn't even matter what teamfight participation looks like anymore. You're basically calling the shots from whatever half of the map you're in.
You're hitting the power spikes early, right? One of the main reasons as to why the Wanwan, usually a lot of people put the Wanwan over the Claw when it comes to the lane is because Wanwan hits the power spike a bit earlier. You get that DHS, that Corrosion Scythe, and basically that's what you kind of have in the mid game. Meanwhile, for the Claude, you really need the Corrosion Scythe, the DHS, and the Golden Staff. So 3 compared to 2 to really get going. If you get solo kills on the map, great farm as well. And yeah, I mean, you can afford to actually do that, Leo.
It's a matter of tempo. I think it's a matter of figuring out what your opponents are up to. And truth be told, Blacklist was caught out. Geek Fam was just planning for this, and this is their usual, right? If you remember from Season 12 in MPLID, this is the way that they perform. Looking at the Blacklist squad, though. Again, it's now very important that we look at their mentality. This is what the Hitman has to say about going into this, all right? Their competence is top tier. I've adapted to Blacklist's level of competence up to the point that the mindset has become my mindset. Even though I have yet to win a championship, I've already developed a champion's mindset. That's a Hitman for you.
That's the mindset that helped them go all 5 games against Onyx, right? Despite them losing in the first game, it sets the tone for Geek Fam, but this is where Blacklist get to wake up. This is where they say, hey, I don't know what happened in game number 1. We gotta get back to that championship mindset, that championship mentality. We call it the Bomba mentality now, right?
Yep, again, it's a catch-all term that we have caught up due to the media interviews that we've gotten from Kid Bomba in action later on. But now, really, this championship mentality is put to the test. Can Blacks International bounce back? Can they regroup? And again, it's gonna come from the leadership of their coach. Coach Master the Basics have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how can we match up to Geek Fam given that they're so aggressive.
Exactly. I mean, looking at the way they drafted earlier, focusing on creativity, they can go back to what works first here in game number 2 after already experimenting in game 1.
Check out this video on mind games before we get back into the series.
Once upon a time, in the realm of esports, a new element emerged outside of the game: taunting. Throughout the history of Mobile Legends Bang Bang, a few shine as the most unforgettable tales of taunt.
Before we match versus Alter Ego, and then they like, where is Onyx or something, I forgot. And the night I just thinking about what I want to say them if I win. Jadi pas menang, bantai, gue confirm ke coach chef, coach bisa bilang ini, bisa bilang ini. Nggak bisa katanya, terlalu over. Jadi gue sebelum taunting juga konsul coach chef biar nggak terlalu jauh lah. Cuma akhirnya itu yang dapat kata-katanya itu, yang bagus.
Mana Spicy Boy? Mana Miracle Boy? This is Key Boy!
There's this certain clash that I felt so bad. Enemy was laughing, the fans was shouting and laughing. So I was so hyped that moment. After we win the series, I went to the middle of the stage, then sleep at then, like 2 times.
I ada taunting tim Filipin dekat MPLI. Tapi sebenarnya bukan taunting sangat pun, cuma mau kepada statement yang nak kata kita bakal menjadi Philippine Slayer. Reaction mereka ramai kecam. Satu dunia tengah kecam Zon waktu tu, termasuklah Malaysia sekalipun.
But why do players engage in such things? Among the many reasons, one of them is to play mind games.
I think that's a mind game. You put a lot of pressure on your enemy. Sometimes it triggers the angry side because when our emotions take control of us, we lost our common sense. We can lose the aftermatch more fast.
Siguro para ginagawa lang nila yung mga ganong bagay na nagtutunt sila para mabawasan ng moral yung kalaban, para ma-demoralize ganon. Tsaka dagdag confidence din sa kanila kasi panalo sila tapos nangasar pa.
Before I doing some taunting to the enemy, I always got the confidence for me. That's why I do the taunting, so it helped me a lot. Sometimes saya rasa saya nak spicy sikit. Saya akan membuatkan isu ni lagi hangat. Tournament ni lagi orang tengoklah sebab ada drama-drama sikit.
Of course, not all players can be swayed by such sorcery.
Pra mim não faz diferença, eu fui jogador profissional de futebol no Brasil, então torcida, o farpa, pra mim não faz diferença.
Just beat them, you know, it's all about the mentality, you know, if you get killed by them taunting, then you're weak. Why you play M5? Go home.
Be wary though, for the taunts must never spiral out of control.
Benda-benda yang sensitif, rasanya itu macam dah melebih lah. Rasa macam itu bukan taunting, itu macam nak cari gaduh.
In the midst of a fierce match between Deus Volt and Geek Fam in the group stage, Niall crossed the line. He was barred from 2 official matches. In a different tournament, OHEB 2 had to face the music.
But I think when it comes to disrespect the person, like putting the person down, and I think that's the crossing the limit.
In between AP Bren and Geek. Going to collapse there. Going to be taken out. Oh boy, as well. AP Bren sends the Geeks to the lower bracket.
I'm always gonna ask myself if we have full lineup against Bren, I think we have a better chance.
I teach my team and my players to be humble as possible. We should be a great example for everyone.
When taunting is kept within boundaries, it is merely a game of the mind. Beyond the battleground, players remain friendly despite intense competition.
I don't know. I don't want to be friends with him.
Stupid are you?
Love that video right there. Well put together package. Once again, taunt responsibly. I love it. I know we talk a lot about that. You know, kind of the concept of taunting, where it fits, what's the line, and you know, as long as it's done responsibly, professionally, it's all part of the game, right? It's all part of the sport.
It keeps the sport spicy. Nobody wants a bland, you know, grand tournament. We want to see. We love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But that's how we do it in NA. I don't know. Hey.
Yeah, these two tall Americanos beside me are very familiar with the Boston Tea Party. Let's have ourselves an M5 TP party instead.
Hey.
Keep it within those boundaries.
That can work too, Renmar, right? But again, drawing it back here to the matchup, we can't say one thing. Geek Fam is on fire after that game number 1. They came out swinging, they came out with a job, and they executed it really well. And that makes me wonder, you know, going back to the whole mentality thing, where is the mentality right now for Blacklist International? They talked about it a little bit in the panel too, and I'm wondering how they adjust in the draft. But once again, before we head over to the draft, we want to just go ahead and welcome all you guys at home or even here, of course, in RMC to join the TikTok drops, right? Again, head over to TikTok, watch M5 there. For 5 minutes, you're going to grab yourself a TikTok viewer chest. If you watch for 20 minutes, you'll go ahead and get a deluxe chest. So grab them while you can, because there's only a couple days of M5 left. Now, bringing it back in to what's ahead of us, gentlemen, right? The matchup, game number 2. I think that's the biggest question, even for a lot of the agents out here, is, you know, what is the plan, right? How do you adjust? Because we've heard some of the, you know, things out there about drafting specifically. And this plays a big part of it, especially as you approach a game after losing under 15 minutes or nearly 15 minutes to such a big lead, right? So Renmar, what are you at least expecting here as they approach the Game 2 draft?
Well, I think these two teams now are really going to turn off the idea of maybe going for an Angela priority first pick. Not to say that that will instantly spell doom, but based on the drafting pattern that we saw, and it seems like these two teams, especially Geek Fam, are very familiar with each other. I don't see an Angela first pick slot being drafted to the point where, in the first phase, where it will work. Not to say that it's impossible, but more of like it'll be difficult to make an Angela first pick work in this scenario, but let's see.
Definitely tough. I think Renny J needs to get maybe moved to be the hitman, not the heel man.
Yeah, a little bit more.
He plays so well on the Matilda. He plays so well when he's able to be aggressive, be in the enemy team's face. And that time he had to be more passive, and Geek Fam knew that. They smelled the blood in the water, and they moved in like sharks.
Yeah, again, when you're talking about, you know, personalities and especially of teams, like play styles, right? It's always great to be able to switch things up, approach game to game, but really you're hoping, at least for this one, for game 2, you acknowledge, you let the hitman choose a hero that allows him to do that, right? But even looking at that quote that we saw earlier, like, he has adapted this mentality, the championship mentality, which has actually, if you've been watching Renegade, for example, throughout his career, has developed, it has grown extensively, you know, up to this point where he is now well fitted in the roster of Blacklist International. So, once again, we'll see how all things change as we get into the draft for game number 2. Again, Geek Fam up 1 in the series, the best of 5. What's at stake? You're out of the tournament. So, again, Blacklist International wants to even the stakes here 1-1 in the series. It starts here in the draft.
See who goes into what side. Is it going to be similar to earlier where Blacklist went blue and then Geek Fam went red? Or will it be a switch? It's going to be similar. Similar bans, actually, across the board, except this time, instead of a Bruno ban, it's a Baksha ban here by Geek Fam. So just a small adjustment. Valentina, first pick, Yue will get one of the signature pickups.
What makes that Baksha ban so interesting is it comes from Geek Fam, so it immediately shows we're not going to run the same thing as last time. We're going to switch it up a little bit because we know Blacklist is going to switch it up most likely. So we want to keep them on their toes, and I think it's a great play. Even just starting in the banning phase, they're kind of getting in Blacklist's head a little bit.
It's funny with this too because, you know, we were talking about Renegade specifically, but this also allows Blacklist International to be a little more decisive, right? You pick up the Valentina, goes in the hands of UA, and then you take an Akai. You still play the utility game against the Fredrin. And then the next pick, the Matilda.
There we go.
There it is.
Now we're getting the faster Blacklist. It's Heelman with a little mix of Hitman. We know how the Matilda likes to play.
Yeah.
And then paired up with Sensui's Akai, you have Valentina in the mid. These are great first 3 picks by Blacklist. It's very similar to a style that they're known for. So they're going into this also with that little asterisk of, guys, Geek Fam know we draft like this.
Yep.
We have to watch out for counter pickups. So now Geek Fam, they want to amp up that early game aggression. Again, they're still going to be going for fast scale and quick dominate. Faramis, Fredrin, Bruno are 3 picks that do that very well.
I like the Faramis pick. It gives them, you know, it gives Marky a little bit of a safer, he's able to kind of huddle down into the group a little bit, and when you have something like Rennie J, the Hitman, on this Matilda, someone that's going to be looking for Marky nonstop, it gives you a little bit of an answer there.
That's a classic matchup, right? Valentina, Faramis. It's going to be Netherrealm versus Netherrealm for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And especially around these later objectives. But this is already a great start because even just rotation-wise, Blacklist International has to get going, and this is the best way to do it. You have a Matilda, you have a Valentina able to help extend those fights. Now, my big question, once again, is what do you put up against the Bruno, right? Statistically, throughout M5, we've seen the Brody versus Bruno matchup. Well, we know where that falls statistically, right? It's still favored in Bruno, but again, we also see a lot of Claude popped up who, you know, right now is not banned out either.
I think something great here for the side of Geek, pick up something like the Tigreal, pick up something like the Minotaur. So if Matilda tries to come in, you have an immediate answer to that. Because the thing is Blacklist wants to get into the midst of them all and just cause mayhem. So Geek Fam, I think, need a strong answer for that.
Yeah, and now it's interesting that the Geek Fam are still respecting the 1-1, and there, the Minotaur actually here was taken out by Blacklist International. You still have very strong EXP laners in Paquito, Khalid, and Lapu Lapu Open. All those honestly can slot in very well for Blacklist International, but then at the same time for Geek Fam, it's they can also just choose between those. If I'm Geek Fam here, just continue that. You want to get someone who can fast clear, like this, exactly, just like earlier. Fast clear, rotate, go for it. Blacklist might play the same way. Paquito Khalid is available, but if they want to keep things super interesting, maybe play a little bit more macro, you might see Agent Zero's Benedetta.
Ooh, if he goes to Benedetta.
And then maybe Claude here? Yeah.
I think those are both good picks, but still, even with the fact that Khalid is open, we saw how that plays a part, but always you have to consider the fact, too, you got to work with the heavy spin, right? You don't want to end up pushing things out. That's the Charizla. There's the Riz. He comes through. This is a constant pickup. You can see the win rates here. It is 51%, but he's almost in all these series so far through the course of M5. Now, once again, this allows you to kind of set things up really well. What do they throw in the gold lane here? It's going to be Iksha.
Oh, interesting. All right, so Geek Fam. Oh, and instantly a Grok. It really looked like Geek Fam read into that so quickly, because the moment that Iksha popped up, quick pick,
boom, wild charge.
Yes, it seems like they were so ready for it, because right now, that Grok pickup was so good because, yes, you have the Lapu Lapu, but you need more help to dive the back line. And the Grok was just a perfect pickup there. So now, Blacklist are going to need to be super systematic about this. They need to peel for the Iksha really well in those team fights. But then now at the same time, Geek Fam have a lineup where they can continue their same strategy and playstyle from game number 1, where it's just go into the jungle, fast clears, steal contest, and then rinse and repeat until you're dominating the game.
Well, once again, both lineups locked in here. Agents, you gotta cheer for a Blacklist International if you want them to get the one. Even it out 1-1 here against Geek Fam after what we saw from the previous game as we go into the land of Dawn in game number 2.
All right, starting this off 0-1. Geek Fam in the lead. Can they do it again, Renmar?
Well, they have the lineup for it, but this time it's not going to be as one-sided in the early game as we saw from game number 1. Blacklist International have the right tools to sort of mitigate or minimize the damage that a snowballing Geek Fam can potentially dish out. But as we were talking about earlier here, you're already seeing aggression from the two roamers. Now Renijay feels a little bit more comfortable going a little bit deeper behind enemy lines, and Beloyski's just continuing what he did from game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do this on an Angela, right? So,
yeah.
In a way, like you said, he's going to be half heal man, half hit man, and that's what he's doing on this Matilda. Putting the pressure there on Niall, but real quick, too, as nothing's happening too much, emblem-wise, Renmar, take us through it.
All right, doesn't feel like there's anything to do. Oh, there we go, there we go. There's the TP party we're looking for. Niall still will get his purple buff.
Oh.
But hey,
boy in a little bit of trouble. Renijay not going to commit to try to get those hits. Probably wouldn't have been able to do enough damage, but Blacklist already so aggressive compared to last game, and this is what we wanted to see from him.
Yep. And you hear the agents. It's thunderous right now. Beloyski will not be able to take the buff away. Niall still pressured.
Marky too.
Marky pressured. Oh, here we go.
Every lane right now. Geek Fam's feeling the pressure this time around.
Blacklist all. Oh, Beloyski. Oh. Very low. Should go down here. Brings out the wall. No!
Oh.
Edward finds the kill. A nice play. Geek Fam now trying to recover here.
Yeah.
Okay, first blood drawn here by Blacklist.
Yeah, going back to the emblem real quick. Actually, we saw the double movement speed, feet, emblems. Yes, that's the way to say it now. This is how the kids say it. Beloyski on Beloyski's Grok. So really, he wants to apply the pressure, move fast. We don't see that as often now, but with that Grok and how you want to play, that's the right call.
Ooh, you takes a wild charge. Beloyski able to take the turtle. They're going to back off. That's going to recover them a little bit after that first blood for the side of Blacklist. But the fight still goes. Edward in a little bit of trouble. Going to get taken out. Luke picks up the kill. Geek Fam responding back.
Yeah, looked like a little bit of a miscalculation there by Blacklist International. Now here comes the pressure by Geek Fam. Can Sensui defend his purple buff?
Now they're going to try to go for this. Niall is able to take it. They get the stun on to Sensui, and Niall walks away scot-free.
Once again, you know, Geek Fam biting back here, given the whole situation. So they find a way to even garner themselves a small lead here.
Yeah, wild charge there right on time. And it looked like in that last one after that first turtle, it looked like Blacklist, or at least Edward, wanted to commit, but Blacklist looked like they didn't want a full commit, so he goes down. They lose that control around the center of the map with a key figure going down, and then that means Sensui was open for the invade. So again, Geek Fam is just continuing their playstyle and trend from game number 1. Blacklist International are matching it, but now we're seeing one of the strengths of Geek Fam. They're so good at those post-engagement team fight, the counter go as we call it. Just when you think that teams, hey, they won't counter go in this scenario, Geek Fam will say, hey, we do, and we'll make it work.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Oh, bottom side, Edward.
A little bit of damage on Edward, gonna get stunned up. The Appraisal's wrath, and Edward is smashed down. Luke picks up the kill. Beloyski now in a little bit of trouble. Renijay, the hitman, trying to take him out. Undercover in the enemy jungle. Can he get the final hit? No, Renijay decides to back up. Gonna get pulled back in, a boy. And a little bit of chip damage, but both teams disengage.
So now we're seeing here Geek Fam's adjustment. Luke is playing out of his mind here, folks. He is taking it to Edward, and at the same time, Geek Fam are committing rotations into the XP lane because they know that when you're up against Blacklist International, one of the things you do is not just in the draft, but in-game, make sure that Agent Zero has a difficult time, because then that means the rest of Blacklist International will also struggle.
Yeah, still, Turtle going to be up here. Beloyski.
Beloyski maybe in a little bit of trouble, does not have the wild charge. Full barrage comes out. Oheb forces a flicker back though. Luke with the bravest fighter. Locks on, onto you, gonna keep him at bay. Sensui wants to look for a way in. Trying to find an angle. Edward with the penalty zone on top of Luke. Luke gets the stun. Looking for Yue. Can he flicker out Niall? Able to still secure it, and Luke gets away safely. Geek Fam playing out of their minds right now.
Woo! Stone cold. It's Luke. Man, we talked about his pickups. What hero you would give him 2 games in a row on this Lapu, and he's playing so well.
He's still going. What? In a bad spot. Is this dangerous? He goes down. Renijay, the hitman, finds the kill. Maybe got a little too confident there.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go Stone Cold Luke Austin.
I like that. I like that. Glass-shattering performance by the EXP laner of Geek Fam.
At one point, again, that's a guiding win if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. Ooh, but Beloyski wants to try to catch him off. No. He's going to look for Oheb here. Gets a wild charge and down goes Oheb. Renijay trying to run away here. Beloyski and a boy put out the wall. They're going to back off.
Okay. Now, We see here Geek Fam are actually playing in bursts, and that's what we see with how Baloyski built the emblem onto this rocket, how he's playing it. And again, here's another burst of gold by Geek Fam, but Nile.
Nile a little bit of trouble. The appraiser's wrath comes down, but Luke once again.
Oh,
he's gonna get pinned to the wall. Baloyski though, gonna start working on the tower. Luke still zoning them away. He gets a stun on it too. Trying to get some more damage down. Gets some shield, but he finally falls to full barrage. And he's locked on to several members. It's a lot of damage. A boy unable to get away today. 2-0. Geek Fam starts to decline.
It wasn't a full barrage, it was a guiding full barrage.
Yeah, a guiding full barrage, a flying
GFB.
barrage, the GFB. That's the first time I've seen that, folks. I am speechless. That was cool.
It looks better than even the flicker, right? So,
yeah.
Hey, they made it work. Again, there's a back and forth, but still, Geek Fam leading by a little bit, 1.3K ahead. Blacklist International still 2, trying to find their first turn of the game. Once again, they don't want to be in the same situation for the previous game, right? They've got no space to work around with just yet. But it looks like they actually want to go ahead and contest this objective. Third turtle, Luke jumps in.
Luke continues to zone them away, keeping Blacklist at bay here. Nile getting free zoning onto this turtle. We'll be able to get that free, gonna put them a little bit ahead, but definitely Blacklist. We've seen them respond, we've seen their team fight potential here, but Geek Fam does not want to let their foot off the gas right now. Nile gonna try to steal this orange buff. It's a 50-50 right there. Baloyski with the wild charge, and he flickers out. Wait, the penalty zone locks on. Wait, no, a boy here, ready to help him fight out. Another Cult Altar, another Netherrealm, and now Boy on the run. But here comes Nile along with Marky, getting free shots down. It's a full-on 5v5 and full barrage. The response.
Go!
Down goes a Boy. Baloyski forced to try to get away with a flicker of health. Sensui is there. Nile gonna try to help his teams.
They're still going.
They don't want to let him get away. Oheb there. Nile falls. Blacklist International trying to take the game back.
Folks, this is the matchup we expected. Geek Fam and Blacklist International are putting on a show. And here comes Geek
Luke
Fam
still
again.
going, stone cold as ever. Oheb able to dance around. No! Luke finds the kill. He wants more. Edward now on the run. He's going to get pulled back by the Shadow Stampede. You as well. Marky gets the shot. Geek Fam, the game is back and forth, but they're not going to let this one go.
Oh, just take it in again, back and forth. The pendulum swings between these two teams. And just when Blacklist International finds a couple wins, Geek Fam bites back.
Woo. Geek Fam, how they're playing here. We've given flowers to Blacklist International. We gotta give the flowers back again to Geek Fam. Luke 3:16, I baptize you with bravest fighter, but he who is mightier than I is coming, and that is the rest of Geek Fam. Time and time again, their condition for team fighting is the bravest fighter. Those 3 hits, sending back Blacklist. Geek Fam says, it's like you can hear them shot go, Baloyski's going, go, guys, go, just go for it.
Hey, it works. Right?
It works.
It's great, no matter, just like the great Rocky Balboa says, no matter how many times you get hit, it's all about how you keep getting back up. And Luke right now, willing to take punches to the face time and time again, but he always hits back harder. Lord now down to about 18,000. Sensui trying to keep the vision on it. Edward and Renegade showing up as well. Baloyski's in about half health. They're going to dance for this one. Watch for Marky making his way around, and Lord will reset.
Okay, Lord gonna go ahead and reset here. Both teams getting a situation. Once again, Blacklist International. Space-wise, they don't have anything, right? They have to just play to the tune of the fact that Geek Fam owns more, basically, real estate around the map. And that's the difficult part, especially when you get to this point, right? Lord's gonna be up here. How do you find the space you want to work with? Renegade's trying to force something, but once again, Geek Fam will not fall for it. Lord now less than half health.
Big knock-up on a Sensui there. A Boy and the rest of the gang, the rest of the fam, playing this slowly. They got faith in Nile. They think he can get the 50-50 as long as the rest of the team is kept away. Rennie J looking for an angle, but Nile finds it. Geek Fam might want to try to force the fight. I think it might be better if they just back off. Blacklist, now want to go. Big penalty zone by Edward. On to 2, but Sensui gonna get the pin. Blacklist using the Netherrealm. 2 Netherrealms. The fight still continues. Geek Fam out. Renegade forced the flicker away. Geek Fam now has the advantage with Luke. finds Yue. Once again, he's gonna keep on going in. Beloyski there as well to have his back. A nice terrify on a Nile, but Nile's gonna back up. They're just gonna take the purple buff and take what they came for.
Big brain Beloy, that wild charge. Saw Blacklist set them up for what could have been a big win for Geek Fam. They weren't able to get kills, but at the end of the day, they got the Lord. A surprising call there by Geek Fam, specifically Nile, to just rush it to the point where Sensui wasn't even in retribution range, and I don't think even he expected that Geek Fam would rush it, take that Lord just like that, then go forward. Systematic aggression. Geek Fam are just continuing that again, but now if you look at the items, up to a Malefic Roar already. Is this Bruno? 3 core items locked in, but Oheb really close. Sea Halberd, DHS, Corrosion Scythe. Both marksmen still very close here. And despite it being a 5K gold team, these two teams already have their conditions. 2-1 Geek Fam. Go for a stomping lead. Blacklist International to find a turnaround.
Once again, they'll be able to deal with this Lord quickly as they did. It was the first one of the game. They'll clear the lanes here too. But again, at this point, this kind of feels like that moment when, when you're playing games and you have your teammates yelling at you like push, push, push. Because still, no turrets down, nowhere to work with. So you're wondering, right? Blacklist International, where do we find this movement? Where do we find the space? Where do we find the space to rotate? Who is that going to be, right? Is it we wait for Oheb to be full glass cannon on this Ixia pick and work out here? Because even Beloyski, look how much damage he's just tanking up.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm also looking at it as how much damage Blacklist International can deal now. Yue is up there in terms of being able to deal the damage. And that's something that the front line of Geek Fam are respecting. So now we've seen Beloyski and Luke be actually just constantly going to the front line, really trying to bait out things from the side of Blacklist International. But every time they do it, it seems like the more it happens, the more health we see them losing. So at some point, it might hit critical mass, and then suddenly Geek Fam are just going to be surprised. It's like, wait. We've gotten the vision, we've sent them back, but now we have to go back ourselves. Oh, Blacklist International gets to find a way to turn it around. That's something they have to watch out for.
Now they're really playing around this Matilda as well, of course. But Beloyski is doing work, man. He's everywhere he needs to be on this Grok.
Something else important to point out, the Beloyski curse is over. He hasn't died 7 times at all in the past 2 games, and he has been moving. Even now, he knows his advantage. He knows as long as he can keep his passive proc, it's going to be so hard for Blacklist to try to catch him off guard, and he can just stay in front of their faces right now.
Slower pace now for these two teams as they just play for macro. Blacklist International finally breaking that turret up top. Let's see if this is going to be a full commit.
They want to go for it, actually.
Nile's alone, actually. Penalty zone with the flicker from Edward. Locks on to Nile. Nile instantly gone. Boy brings out the nether realm. We want to try to help his friend, but he won't be able to save the day. Beloyski from the side with a wild charge to knock up onto Edward. Luke into the backside with the Brave Spider. Looking for Oheb. Gets a stun. But wait, the damage is unloading and Beloyski goes down. Now it's Luke against the world. Marky looking for some free shots. No way Luke goes down. Slow as well. Black to turn the game around and take the second Lord.
It doesn't matter if you don't have any turrets, you're down multiple thousands of gold. It only takes the one team fight, and Blacklist did it.
Like the Viper returning in Survivor Series from out of nowhere. Just like that, tables have been turned, and RMC are electrified yet again. And that came off of information that Beloyski was in the top lane, clearing minion waves. Blacklist said, we go for this now, and we turn it around.
And what a great play at that. Nile all alone. They were able to take him off, and that was it. Luke goes for another, balls against the wall play there, but ends up getting caught off guard. Blacklist with the game back in their hands.
With that, they're going to go ahead and grab a couple more of these turrets in the tier 2. It's now Geek Fam's turn to be on the defense. Backs against the wall here, but one thing's for sure. They have all the items they need to actually win this team fight as they get prepped up for the defense. But it will come down to playing around the full barrage from Oheb like we saw previously. Can they keep it together as the Lord marches in?
All right, Blacklist International. Do they play this safe or do they go for a huge play? Geek Fam definitely going to play a safe. They just need to get the Lord out of here. They've only lost 1 inhibitor, but that will give Blacklist International an advantage over the map.
All right. Okay, Blacklist International can actually continue applying this pressure so they can get inhibitors, as we mentioned, get resources, start choking out.
Oh, there we go!
Penalty zone into the backside. Bloisky gonna get the wild charge on the tower, but the full barrage comes out. Luke trying to dodge it, trying to get out of range.
Wow.
Geek Fam with the Netherrealm, able to survive, but still lose one. Bloisky off the map.
That's literally covering fire.
Yeah.
Like that full barrage covering fire, immortality popped on Edward, and they keep Geek Fam at bay. So he stays with his life, and now the focus, this last base turret, to fully expose the base of Geek Fam. As they get ready, turret's gonna fall here, and they're happy with that.
Blacklist relentless right now. They've taken everything they can from Geek Fam. How do they respond?
As we look at the instant replay, Geek Fam now have to start dishing out more of the surprises, because now we see Blacklist International telling Geek Fam, hey, we can dish out surprises too. Surprise calls. You think we're going to be slower in terms of the macro? Hey, it looks like that you don't have your roamer in the Lord pit. We're going to go for the Lord. Hey, it looks like our XP laner can get a massive setup with a penalty zone. Hey, we're going to go for it. Look, your roamer's gone again. So now Blacklist are playing Geek Fam's game, and they're saying, we can do better as well, better than great. These two teams are putting on an absolute show, but it has gotten to the point where they have both proven one big play might be the decider.
Yeah, again, as we go ahead, get ready for this Lord take, it's going to be pulled over to Blacklist International side. Geek Fam trying to get a position, but right now, Renegade just keeping them at bay the best he can. Netherrealm being held by UA here. Could change the course of the fight. Lord's gonna go ahead and reset for now. Geek Fam can still possibly steal the Lord away in this exchange against Blacklist International. They take things very slowly.
Yeah.
Marky's positioning also gonna be crucial here.
Yeah, you see the side lane minions of Blacklist International are going to get pushed out a little bit more. They have minion advantage there. In the mid lane, that's where Luke's Lapu Lapu is getting parked, because he is in the best position to clear way fast, but at the same time go for a gank if Blacklist International decide to push forward. Come off from a pincer angle, 18, 16k, they're going to go for it.
Oh, Sensui is going to get knocked up there. Luke into the backside, locking on OM, but the heavy spin forces now out of the way. It's a 50-50. Who's going to take it? Luke gets a three-man stun on 3 members of Bloisky. Saves the day, the big brain man. But now Geek is on the run. Blacklist want to try to take him down. You take the Lord, but we take your lives. 2 members fall. Blacklist International. The Lord doesn't matter if we can take you all.
The Lord, but for what? One big play, but it was one big Baloy that got the Lord for Geek Fam. But Blacklist will burn this quick. They will have a 2-man advantage over Geek Fam.
Are they going to go for this? The finish, the knock-up, the penalty zone misses. But boy, takes a ton of damage. UA goes down. Marky trying to save the day along with Luke. The full barrage comes out. Marky fingers to the side. He's looking for more. Boy, back up. Luke there. The Shadow Stampede. Ready, Jay. Looking for the knock-up. Able to lock on. Marky's still there. Sensui in a little bit of trouble. They've saved the day. Geek Fam survive another wave.
What a defense from Geek Fam once again. Marky able to avoid the full barrage from Ohead, keeps them in the game, as they'll know they make their way to the mid lane.
What a flicker that was from Marky.
Yeah, at the right time, Marky is deathless, the solution. They found a problem and they have the Marky to answer it. Now, Blacklist will have to defend. The back and forth, the seesaw, the drama. Is this where it ends? Or will it continue again?
Geek Fam goes in. They crack down the inhibitor and a wild charge paired up with the bravest fighter. Luke looking for the stun, but he's pinned against the wall. Geek Fam now on the run. Edward able to get the penalty zone, but out comes the Netherrealm. They're going to be able to get away from this. Luke in a little bit of trouble, able to dash back. Black there on the chase. The final barrage. Luke takes a shot to the face. Marky as well. Geek Fam in shambles. Blacklist International changing the fate of game 2. UA finds another one. Bloisky all alone. A boy back at the base, back at the crystal. Blacklist International, you mentioned the pendulum. Well, they are the swing.
It doesn't end there. It does go again. And now Blacklist have the right set unless Geek Fam can defend once more.
All right, can Geek Fam do this? They need a little more time. Edward able to get the penalty zone. They want to finish it. The minions locked down. The final barrage is for salt in the wound. And Blacklist International takes game number 2.
And it's 1-1, as we expected in the epic matchup between Geek Fam and Blacklist International.
We do not get Super Bowl halftime shows in MLBB Esports, but this right here is the closest we'll get sports entertainment at its finest. 2 teams not wanting to back down. Welcome to the M5 World Championship yet again. This was one of the greatest games we've had the honor to cast.
Once again, we're gonna have this broken down further by our panelists over there on the analyst stand. Leo, Mirko, take it away.
Can you believe it? In a single game of MLBB that lasted somewhat 20 minutes, we were put on a showcase of mechanics. A lot of things happened in that game that I've never seen in my entire career.
It's crazy how we saw so much action across the board from the start all the way to the end, Leo. I mean, it has to start in the drafts, right? Because we did mention that in game number 1, it felt like they were just looking to be as creative as they can, that they actually shot overboard, right? They went a bit too creative. Master the basics. You gotta master it. He's done it, and I'm glad to see that Blacklist International just went back to their basics, man. The Akai into the Mathilda first phase to get a very strong trio mid setup going, and then picking the nail in the coffin, that Ixia.
That's right. A lot of other marksmen were actually open. You had a Brody still out there. You had the old classic Claude to answer the Faramis, the Beatrix even for the Filipino sniper. But they said, you know what? I think we need that full barrage, and indeed it came into play here in game 2, wherein there were so many false collapses, so many feigned ults, wherein you could have sworn, oh, I should have popped the full barrage 10 seconds earlier, but it was all according to plan. And again, this was made possible because of 2 very key players. I'd like to think they're very strong candidates for MVP, and I'm looking at Yue or Renegade.
Renegade is my choice personally, right? Because of the fact that he was able to screen so much of the map in the early phase to stop a lot of the ganks from happening, saving the Ixia multiple times as well. And it looks like I got it on the dot. The Hitman Renegade, the MVP for game number 2. 2-0-16. This is truly a visual representation of when the Hitman becomes a roamer.
It's the perfect example of why he's so good at what he does. For you to be able to protect your cores the way Renegade does, you gotta think like an assassin. You gotta think like a hitman. So he's able to cover Oheb, and of course, even you. And maybe that's why this Valentino was so good at reading bushes, checking in, and keeping people where they need to be with the Terrifies. It's because Renegade knows where Luke might be hiding, where even Marky could be hiding. And yeah, Marky went deathless for a good 20 minutes, and then it was too late after the collapse. And all throughout, early, mid to late, even after those swings, even after those comebacks from Geek Fam, Renegade was on point.
I love the stark difference here between the 2 teams where Blacklist International, once they get the lead, they build it slowly. It's like an investment, right? Meanwhile, for Geek Fam, you can see they were explosive from the get-go. They were able to get an explosive lead in the early game, but then they kept on gambling with that lead, right? Obviously, when you make these crazy plays, 2 things can happen. You can give the lead over to the enemy team, or you can multiply your lead by a lot. And for the most part in this game, in the early stages, that's what it looked like. Geek Fam were able to snowball, but Blacklist, with the help of Renegade, every single time. Even here, Oheb did die in the end, but Renegade bought so much time just by knocking them up that it actually granted Yue a lot of space, and then they had to burn more of those emblems, more of those spells from the side of Geek.
Yep, and again, the wisps that he uses to check bushes and to help reposition with the guiding winds. Again, you could have sworn that Renegade's Matilda had like 6 skills with the way that he was transporting, covering, couriering his cores to where they needed to be. And even here, towards that last clapback, right? Renegade was even making the shots. It's like, all right, I'm gonna take some hits from Marky. He was peeling here. And then, okay, let's try to save what's left. Oheb back out. There was a ball that was chasing the young prince. And then from there, Renegade just stayed on top of it. That's something I think the Hitman has in spades that he inputs into the Blacklist international mentality, is the fact that no matter how dire straights look, how desperate things are, he's always just ready to catch you, ready to say, you know what, everything's going to be fine.
We heard about the championship mentality earlier, literally in game number 1, between game 1 and game 2, and we got to see it straight from Renegade himself, the Hitman picking up an MVP and a deathless performance in a chaotic game. I mean, take a look at it again. There was so much action, 19-9 in this entire game. But what I do want to kind of point out later is one of the items here where I found it was really, really interesting, right? But we're going to get back to the emblems first here, where for me, it's the Fredrin going for the concussive blast, right? Ever since the Fredrin got nerfed, some of the base damage, a lot of junglers have then utilized the concussive blast to get better clear across the jungle camps, to get that early lead, to kind of cover for the weakness that Fredrin has right now.
I'm with it. And again, if y'all are wondering how Luke does what Luke does, constantly putting pressure on Oheb and Yue, that's the build right there. The adaptive, the penetration and the early on spell vamp is key. Because if you do not build your Bloodlust Axe early, then you're going to start dying. And again, Luke kept it very close to the chest. Looking at the rest of the item builds, you're going to try to point something out here.
I'll point out at Marky right now, right? Because in game number 1, we actually did give him so much props for going for the offensive route. He didn't care about the win of nature because he was able to shut down his laner. And also, on the other side of the map, the other damage dealer that was dealing physical damage was also shut down. The fact that he did not go for win of nature, I have to say, this is a greedy, greedy move by him. Going for the Sea Halberd, you did see him position really well, but at one point, that full barrage, that range, it's bound to get to you.
Yep, and for the Hitman, again, if you want to build your Matilda the way that he did, that's it. You have that one magic item, the Enchanted Talisman, and then you build full support, full on support and defense. And this was something that bothered me earlier, all right? The moment that Oheb died during that almost final comeback from Geek Fam, I saw, hey, why is he building a halfway all right? He was on his way to an immortality. So again, he understands, Oheb understands that he is a linchpin. He is a very important part of their winning condition that he has to protect himself, compared to Marky, who's just okay to be a little greedy.
Aside from that, I really got to talk a little bit about that final Lord, or not the final Lord, but the Lord that switched everything on its head, right? The complete 180 from Blacklist International when they were able to find Niall. Beloyski was on the other side of the map and Niall dashed in. When that initially happened, I expected, oh, okay, they wanted to try to utilize a boy's nether realm to try to miscalculate, make Blacklist miscalculate. But then you see Beloyski on the other side, and then you really start to question, was it truly a big miscom from the entire team, where they wanted to do some pushes, some more setups before they got to that Lord?
And that's wherein Blacklist now finds their window. In game 1, there was very little bit of a window. And again, it's that same gamble, that playing with the odds and just putting it all on the line that made Geek Fam win game 1 so quickly. Now, this one took a while longer. This one went past the 20-minute mark. But here you'll see that they're investing in the right spots. They are trying to build towards a winning condition that is capable of winning regardless of what happens, even inside their own base, because it was so close. Geek Fam was coming in. And with that, you have to ask, how did Blacklist do that? It's because they were trading very efficiently. They were giving out turtles, letting Edward die, allowing for Renegade to actually check in, buy time, and then move out. Geek Fam weren't picking fights as free, as wanton as they were in game 1.
No, they really weren't, right? But it's almost like, Leo, it's kind of an identity for them at this point, right? We've coined in the term the solution for the entire tournament, even in MPL Indonesia. Now, they're not just looking for solutions, but they're looking for problems, because there can never be a solution when there's no problems. Marky, the rest of the team kept on looking for these crazy, crazy fights across the map. And I get it in game number 2, especially after the adrenaline rush that is game number 1. They dominated Blacklist in game number 1. But now it's about that wake up again. It's that back to reality phase, right? You got to get that reality check, and it comes in the form of a big slap in the face from the Hitman himself.
And just as our desk mentioned, there is a pendulum here, swinging back and forth, back and forth. In game 1, it went all the way even out of that big old grandfather clock and went towards Geek Fam's way. Now, Blacklist able to slow it down. Blacklist able to play to their pace, trade out to the point of inevitability. Where does game 3 bring us? What kind of gameplay and tempo will Geek Fam bring, or will they even be the ones calling the shots? Because again, once Blacklist says it's Ube time, it's their time.
That timing is crucial for both these teams for those power picks, Leo. And honestly, the power spikes to happen, right? I mean, the fact that Blacklist International calculated that so well, that ADP came in really handy.
That's right. And ADP is something that Blacklist is constantly thinking about, anti-disaster protocol. Because in this game alone, they won this game. They won this game. They were always thinking, all right, we got to keep that lead very close. Keep that lead a manageable place so that when we do turn at the Lord with the big ult, it's still worth coming back for.
It's efficiency versus explosiveness. Literally, the visual storytelling for that is literally explosion and also efficiency.
Let's throw it over to our hosts on stage as we go ahead and buy a little bit of time for our players before they get back into game 3.
Here with us in the crowd, our two icons in Philippine MLBB scene. We have Hall of Legends inductee Dougie.
Hello po, hello po, hello po, hello po.
And Running Jay's former teammate H2O. How are you guys doing?
Kumusta? Ayos lang. Ayos lang. Ayos lang po.
Ayos means good, good,
Yeah.
okay. So we're holding the biggest MLBB tournament here in the Philippines, the World Championship. How do you guys feel about that?
I feel so excited. Kung titingnan nyo kasi andyan yung isang player na matagal ko nang kasama. Siya naging kakampiyon ni H2O, si Renny J, and I'm rooting for them to win this tournament. Talagang tumataas balahibo ko. I mean, speechless ako. Jay, malapit na, pero malayo pa, puso lang. Yes!
He's really excited. He's really excited because he's here with somebody that he's been with for a long time, and that's Running Jay. He's getting goosebumps right now.
How about
Okay.
you, H2? Nakaka-proud kasi tayong mga Pinoy nag-a-handle ng gantong event. Lalo na malakas yung MLBB sa Pinas. Tsaka, shoutout nga pala kay Rene J. Sobrang proud ako sa'yo kasi layo na ng narating mo.
Yeah.
Tsaka yun.
Again, they're just very proud of their former teammate and also player. Boss D, gusto kitang talangin, na-bring up mo na si Rene J. Ang ganda nung Game 2. Important win. Nag-MVP pa siya. Ano pakiramdam na nandyan, di ba? Napapanood. Ayan na. Soft spot, sabi nga ni Boss D sa akin kanina, soft spot daw niya talaga to.
Sa akin, ibang klase. Yung combo nila ni Oheb, yung nag-second skill siya sa Matilda, tapos dagit niya si Oheb, tumayo na balahibo ko doon.
Detalyado.
Ibang klase yung mga play na ginagawa ng Blacklist ngayon. Sure ko, proud say si Yahweh.
Ay, you know what, Boss D? Panoorin natin to kasi may video tayo na nakita kung paano mo supportahan si Rene J.
Let's watch this.
Tapos na to. Tapos na to guys. Tapos na. Tower lang, let's go! Jay, dalawang panalo pa, Jay. Jay, matataas ko na po, Jay. Magpa-finals ka, M5, Jay. Jay, dalawang panalo na lang, Jay.
Dougie, what's going through your mind right now? You're very emotional. Tell us what you're feeling.
Alam ko ito yung... Iniwan sila sa akin ng pag-ulag nila. Nakita ko pa si Rene J. Hindi pa bago yung ilong niya nun. Okay. Pero, binigay sa akin sila na magulang nila, si H2, si Rene J, si Yahweh. Kailangan ko gawan ng pagaan yung mga time na wala kami sa MPL. Kaya yung mga bagay na pinapa-stream ko sila, kasi gusto ko yung kung ano yung nakakamit ko sa buhay na nakakamit nila. Tapos ngayon, siyempre, nung season 1, nakapag-champion na kami kung awa ko play 8er. Tapos yung sa MSC. Tapos ngayon, andyan ba sila? wish ko lang, men, like, men, tandaan mo, Jay, men, pamilya mo kami, H2O, Yahweh, ako, Kaysen, lahat ng tao sa bootcamp, men. Lagi na sa'yo, men, lagi na sa likod mo. Andiyan si Hart. Dito kami, men, sasapakitaan ka namin.
Talagang Rene J. grew up.
Marky, Baloy, patalo nyo na yan. Pinoy din naman kayo, di ba?
Quick backstory. Dougie is sharing the story about how he recruited Rene J. And his parents, Rene J's parents, trusted Dougie, brought them to the boot camp, even with all the struggles going to MPL. He saw Rene J's growth even before all the changes, physically and in the career. So he's just so proud of how far he's gone. Do you have a final message also to Rene J?
Message ko kay Rene J, dito lang ako palagi sa'yo. Sobrang proud ko sa'yo. Alam kong deserve mo tong araw na to and deserve mo rin kung nasan ka man ngayon. Manalo, matalo, dito lang ako palagi. And yun, sobrang proud ako sa'yo. And good luck sa mga laban.
Well, yeah, kitang-kita. H2O just telling Rene J how proud he is of him. But I just want to ask, a former teammate, obviously a close friend, ano masasabi mo sa evolution ni Rene J on and off, of course, sa laro?
Yung sobrang laki ng in-improve na Rene J ngayon kasi kampi ko na siya dati pa. So, alam ko na kung ano yung mga in-improve niya. Tsaka, nung nandito na siya sa Team Blacklist, parang sobrang laki pala ng in-improve niya kasi captain siya dito sa Blacklist eh. So, yun.
He's really proud of Rene J. He's been with him for so long, so he saw and he witnessed the growth of Rene J. Even now in Blacklist International, he's grown so much. And now it's time to find out how Blacklist will do against the Geek Fam. We're heading to game number 3. Here we go. Casters, pasok.
They're right there.
Okay, it's just that after what happened to the M2 World Championship Filipino broadcast, I promised I wouldn't cry on broadcast again, but I can't help it. That was really something. As someone who's coached a team before, but with the level of how Dougie has supported like all the players that has gone through him, he's more of a really just a father figure to a lot of the players. One of them being Rene J, and it's a touching story. And especially after that incredibly dramatic game number 2, of course, the tears are going to be flowing. It's emotions all around the Rizal Memorial Coliseum right now.
Which is, it's great that we had that because he was a big part of that, locking in the Matilda, able to make those movements around the map this time and in the team fights, you know. This was what you were saying, the channeling, the heel man, the hit man, everything, right? The improvement over the courses of his career has led him to this world stage. And as you're looking across this, right, the Roamers kill participation, man, he's there at the top against some of the best players, obviously, in the world here.
And it just goes to show his play style, his mechanics, the way he moves around the map. And that's why so bad in Game 2, that's what I wanted to see him do.
Yeah, we got to call back to a little reference Wolf and I made together in the MPL Philippines Season 12. We called this the Uber, the Ultimate Bonding Experience Remix. With a hitman in charge, it's a different tune, a different dance, a bit more aggressive, a little bit faster. And the fact that we see that stat really is just numbers being put into facts.
Yeah, and again, you know, I know we've been focusing a lot on Rene J here at Blacklist International, but we also have to paint the picture here. Geek Fam's doing great, right? There was even a moment where
they are.
Heck, they were about to 2-0 things, turn things around. So they're obviously still a threat as they approach Game 3, right? And you really have to kind of look at breaking it down. Even the fact that the way that Boloyski's been playing, you know, a lot of the times we've been talking about this 7-death thing that he needs. Well, for the most part, he's barely died and he's still playing out of his mind, right? So I feel like as you're looking at the Roamers specifically, matching them up, they dictate a lot of the pace of the game, right? I mean, naturally, a lot of the Roamers do, but more so even if you're looking at this matchup, Boloyski and Rene J, how they kind of lead a lot of this charge here. And not to mention, again, the performance from OMEB. How will it be this time around as we get ready once again to head into the draft for game number 3? It's 1-1 across the board. We'll see how teams adjust from the previous games. the game plans. And once again, keeping our eyes on the roamer options here for Renegade and Boloyski.
You mentioned a key thing there, dictating the tempo. And I really think that's why we're not going to see Angela first pick again, or at least an Angela roam.
That's about as anti-tempo as you
get. Game 2 was just putting proof to the pudding of Renegade and Boloyski want to play fast. That's it. So now Geek Fam, with them now on the blue side, they go with a patented blue side priority pick onto the Lilia. So the Blacklist will go for the Akai here. The Lilia pickup sort of turns off the Faramis getting picked up. Let's see if they're going to go switch it up, but no. They say, you know what, we can play into it. We can still try it. Maybe we can play a little bit faster than Geek Fam before the Lilia will hit that super late game annoying spike.
Not only that, but Geek bans out the Matilda there just to slow them down even more. They don't want to let Blacklist get to that full tempo. So what is left for Renegade? We've seen him pick up the Cho here and there. There's plenty of options still out there. Does he go for something more aggressive? Does he fall back to the Raft? Because that does give them a little bit of movement, a little bit of speed around the map. It's been another fallback pick for Blacklist. So definitely still a few options. Is it going to be here, or is it going to be in second phase?
Yeah, one of the more indirect answers to the Lilia is actually the Rafaela that you mentioned. Because of that extra movement speed, you get to negate a little bit of the slows that she can dish out, and at the same time, you can avoid the damage that a Lilia can dish out. And surprisingly enough, heading into this, actually, there's the Rafaela. Beside the Matilda, Rafaela is actually the most pick of Renegade. So there, they lock that in. Now we go to the second phase, EXP lane. You know what would be spicy? If we see now Edward pick up something like the Khalid or the Lapu-Lapu for himself, give Luke a taste of his own medicine.
It's interesting too, you know, the fact that the Faramis was picked up here into that first pick Lilia, right? Because a lot of times the Lilia is the answer for the NetherRealm. You deal with it pretty well, you kind of expend that, but I still like the fact that they went with the Rafaela. You work around the fact that you have some extra movement speed, you have sustainability, but you know, that leads us to, XP lane. Where does the focus here? You can already see, too, some respect once again for Boloyski. They're going to take out the Ruby. He still has, of course, the Grok available, too, if he wants to go that route. Edith is being taken out. Now, are we still expecting XP lane matchup with possibly the Lapu-Lapu coming through? You already mentioned the Khalid here.
Yeah. Actually, the last time we saw Rafaela Faramis getting picked up by Blacklist International up against Onyx, they actually picked up the Khalid during that scenario. They had a Guinevere and a Bruno at that time. They might still be able to adjust a pick, so it might be a remix of that kind of draft, if ever.
I think they definitely want to. Khalid is definitely an important pick here for the side of Blacklist, because if they don't, it's a great answer to the Faramis. It's a great answer to that group-up strategy that Blacklist is bringing. So I think it's a very solid pick up front. On the side of Black, do they ban more? They take out the Lapu. And then what? They take the Khalid here. And all it really leaves Geek with, he could still pick up the Arlot. Could be a solid answer possibly for Luke.
Arlot, Riz.
Riz.
He's got the Riz.
He's definitely got the Riz.
That's about, I mean, for the most part, if it is Khalid, let's say it is Khalid for Blacklist International, and it seems where it's going.
Unless Geek bans it right here.
Yeah, unless they just take it out right of the picture. And then you're kind of looking at, okay, well, still, what is it? Arlot, Tarizla being open.
Could see something like a Uranus come into play here.
Ooh, might be tough though.
A punch for a punch.
Take out the Pagid. Oh, it really looks like a Khalid here. Could be last two picks Khalid. Carry might be tough, but they might like to pick that up last pick. They can go Khalid fourth pick and then Marksman into the last. If the Marksman gonna come in now, then it's gonna be a carry and then carry or a Brody. Because I don't see a 1-1 slotting into the lineup of Blacklist right now.
Yeah, not only that, we saw how Marky did against the 1-1 last time with the Claude. They are going to lock in the Khalid. Geek Fam now looking for a roam.
Right now, he's lost in the sand.
He's lost in the sand. Oh yeah,
he's not there. So
he's got his head in the sand right now.
Yeah, that's definitely Khalid. So he's going to be locked in. See what the answer is once again. XP lane, still got the Tarizla. Is that something you'd actually want to pick up? Tarizla into it though?
Well then, with the members of Blacklist grouping up together, but the fact that you're up against an Akai might be a little bit difficult to make the Tarizla work. Scratching my head right now. Maybe they'll go to the classic Arlot route.
Minotaur.
Yeah. So it's Arlot Minnow. So I'm really guessing carry here for Blacklist International. Brody would be okay too, but my heart's speaking, yelling carry.
I think the Arlot's a solid pick, right? It gives a big possibility to be able to split Blacklist up a little bit, or if they are all grouped together, you can push everyone in. So there's a few answers with Luke here. It's definitely not the normal dive Terizla or Lapu Lapu that we've been seeing him play, but still very solid. He's able to be aggressive on it. And Beloyski as well, this is something I wanted to see, something that can meet Blacklist here head on. I think the major thing they have to do here is just kind of play around the Akai, because if you dive in, as you mentioned, you get caught by that heavy spin.
Yep.
It's GG.
For too long.
As you mentioned, Renmar on point. There's the carry. Picks up, fitting for this situation as well, considering the fact that they are quite tankiness across from you.
Okay, so I'm leaning a little bit more towards the draft of Blacklist International, but again, for me, the biggest factor here for Geek Fam will be Beloyski's play on the Minotaur. How he plays this alongside the timing of Luke's final slashes as the Arlot might actually be enough to disrupt the Faramis-centered composition of Blacklist International. And then at the same time, with the Claude and the Baksha entering, and of course Arlot dashing around, how Geek Fam executes this in the team fight will be the main determinant of who will be winning this game number 3.
We're going to find out once again as we load up into the land of Dawn. It's 1-1 in the series between a Geek Fam, Blacklist International. Who steps closer to that match point? It all unfolds here as things get situated once again. Talking about the lineups, quite a bit of tankiness for a Geek Fam. Does Blacklist International have the answer for it with that carry pick?
It's actually a really interesting play here by Blacklist. They went straight into the mid lane to get a little bit of burst down onto Beloyski, maybe even potentially get a pick off there by sending Edward there with the slashes. Not going to be able to get the kill, but they do send Beloyski back a little bit, which sort of tempers the rotation of Geek Fam.
Yeah, and it sets Geek Fam back, because one of the things I was worried about with Blacklist is they do have, once again, similar to kind of game 1, a softer, supportier mid lane right now. And sending Edward into the mid lane there to kind of already give them a little bit of a boost, a little bit of push into the enemy territory really helps back Blacklist in this tempo.
Yep, I like that. Real quick, emblems, anything sticking out here, Renmar?
Master Assassin of the Khalid. This is the Assassin full damage Khalid that we're going to be getting. So a Khalid that can maybe be the guy to force out the black shoes of the Lilia, one of the biggest things that Blacklist International need to do if they want to be a little bit more comfortable in the team fights.
That's like typically, you know, again, when Khalid is picked up, you kind of expect Dolan, Marky, and Oheb just, okay.
Okay.
Marky not exactly getting the better as game 1. This is going to be the second game in a row. Oheb is winning out on some of these trades.
Yeah, going back to the point again, Khalid, I feel like this part is going to be very important, right?
Yeah.
For the fact that usually you see Khalid enter second in some of these team fights, but this time Edward might be making the initiation. As you mentioned, your whole goal is, let's get that black shoes out from a boy, let's kind of work around that. Once again, even the fact that you have to work against the Minoan Fury from Beloyski. If that is all expended, then Blacklist International is in a great position to win some of those early skirmishes and team fights later on. Oh, look at that.
A lot of damage on Edward. Forced use of flicker. Luke looking for the finish. Heavy spin comes. Luke able to flicker to the side. Edward going to get some of his health back with that sand guard. But now Nile going to lock on to Sensui. They know he doesn't have the heavy spin. Beloyski there as well. The Netherrealm comes out, and now the response waiting on the final slash. Raging Sandstorm from Edward. Able to help to disengage. Luke very low, trying to back off. Rennie J on the chase, but the Turtle still low. Nile able to secure. Beloyski on the front side. A nice stun on 2 members with an Owen's Fury. 2 members taken out. Yue and Rennie J back to base.
Big miscalculation there by Blacklist International. They had their heavy spin forced out in the bottom lane. That means the Geek Fam relatively free turtle, but Sensui able.
That was dangerous. Oh, Edward! Here to equalize.
He's still going? Okay, no, he's just, look at my sand, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool,
sand,
right?
nerd.
Just look at it,
Look
right?
at my sand. Did you just say eat sand, nerd?
Eat sand, nerd.
Yeah, it works, right?
It's Edward.
It is Edward. Now looking at the gold earned here, Marky, though, farming up pretty good in comparison to Oheb. Those two, for the entirety of the series so far, it's been very action-packed. Just to leave them be, right? This is the thing where usually I talk about the gold lane experience, but like these guys have their own version of it. They just duke it out in the gold lane, while the rest of the team kind of puts pressure everywhere else.
Yeah. So now we're going to be seeing a Blacklist International go into the top side jungle of Geek Fam a little bit. Oh!
Oh, they're looking for Yue here. Does have the Netherrealm, should be able to get away from this safely, but if they can pop it out, it could help with an advantage. Blacklist, though, all grouped up at the top. They're ready for this.
And right now, Blacklist International are playing like a team where they know and understand the condition of we have to not necessarily win the mid, just control the mid. Because that means our side lanes will be a little bit easier to deal with in terms of like supplementing OHEB, making sure Edward's comfortable with going on the 1v1s against Luke's Arlon. If you look at the items already, the Corrosion Scythe on the carry. Still waiting on the... Oh, wait, no. There it is. The DHS.
Grabbed it, yep.
They just grabbed it for Marky. So still tempered right now as rotation. A little bit slower, a little bit more methodical are what these two teams are doing.
Yeah, still focused in the mid lane.
Ow.
Again, a lot of this, you can see them kind of already getting in position. Turtle's going to be up here. Second one of the game. Both teams where they want to be. Gold laner staying on the bottom side of the map. They're going to go ahead and just not be a part of this. Turtle, take it.
Nile able to take it. Geek Fam kind of controlling the pace right now. Nice heavy spin from Luke, trying to lock on to Edward there. Yep. Down at the orange buff too, Beloyski. Geek Fam just in itself right now is being so aggressive. Edward forced to use the Raging Sandstorm as a getaway.
Yeah, and now that final slash that we saw earlier from Luke, and with Blacklist International forced back, can't get close enough. Actually a Retri duel, if I'm not mistaken, won by Nile, or I don't think they just got close. Now they trigger the call for a switch. We're going to be switching things up, the focus. This is classic Blacklist International. Now they're going to be looking into supplementing OHEB. Double laning now, trying to maximize the farm that he can get across the map, because they're going to need that iron.
Oh, Beloyski! But wait, no, the Holy Baptism able to delay Geek Fam. Geek Fam still looking away the Wild Slash! Luke making the play to change the game!
Wow!
Marky locked on Edward, and Edward finally drops. Sensui with a heavy spin, just to try to get away. 4 members of Blacklist International fall.
What a play from Luke. The final slash of the day so far, right on point there.
Another chapter added to the book of Luke. No other analysis needed, man. That was a hell of a final slash.
Yep, we're going to take a look at it once again. The instant replay here, presented by Kadia. If you missed it, now you get to see it again. It all unfolds here under the Tier 1 turret. Here comes Luke.
Flicker, too. Picture perfect positioning as an Arlot. That's what you want to get. And despite them being under tower, Geek Fam can just juggle bodies to ensure that they win that out. Luke, my goodness, still continuing.
Oh, Renegade. Trouble.
Boy.
Gets through with a heal.
Geek Fam just so aggressive right now.
Yeah. In a very quick, decisive play. Now 3K ahead, not to mention objectively. Still in a similar situation where we saw for the previous games, right? Blacklist doesn't have a turret yet. They're kind of restricted in terms of space and movement around the map. Uh-oh.
Sensui trying to get away here. Geek Fam just suffocating. They're playing so well, meticulously aggressive. Like, just so well all over the map, everywhere. Edward now looking for a target. Raging Sandstorm just to get away. Geek Fam want to take this tower.
And this is what we were talking about earlier, actually, for the side of Geek Fam. I did say I was leaning a little bit more towards a lineup of Blacklist International, but if Geek Fam layered their abilities well, found their timings, caught Blacklist International caught Blacklist International off guard, they'd be taking their conditions. They'd be the one leading the charge here. So that's exactly what they did. With meticulous, as you mentioned, their treks, gameplay around the map, good macro, and finding those little windows of opportunity to counter-go during the objective team fights, Geek Fam are just doing what they need to do with the lineup they have to make sure Blacklist lineup won't be able to shine as well as it could have.
Yeah, and with this, with the lead they have, you can see them put the pressure here now on the side of Blacklist International, at least trying to force these things out of Sensui even. But again, they'll take the buff. Now, my biggest thing here is the time that it takes for carry, right? To kind of build up to that point, the power spike, if you will. How's that comparison against the Claude? Typically, Claude takes a while too, but with this lead, and we saw the gold difference between gold lane alone, you know, OHEB, it's going to take a little bit longer here. We're only 8.5 minutes in.
Yeah, there's a bit still. They're both built up to a golden staff, so I think it's good news that Carry also has like 2 damage. They're going to be good. Well, Aboy now has an Ice Queen wand here, so that's something Blacklist needs to watch out for. Yes, they have that holy healing, but those slows, strong counter punishes.
Boy, gonna respond back though. Edward able to do nothing there. Niall gonna back. Ooh. Gonna back off. I think it's smart. You mentioned the Claude and the carry. One of the things about the Claude, though, is even if he's not like fully online, unloading a ton of damage, he still has so much utility outside of that with the split pushing, with being able to still melt down the Nether Realm.
Exactly, yes.
Whereas carry, you just have one job, really. It's try to shred down, the frontliners. And until carry can do that, there's not much else she can do.
Man, look at this already. They force Ensui less than half health. They go ahead and give the go signal for the Lord. I don't think Blacklist International can even get here in time.
Yeah. And I don't think they have the opportunity to find a counterplay, but I think they're going to try to go for Beloyski.
Oh, Beloyski able to get the knock-up, though, on 2 members. Another Realm comes out from UA. Marky trying to unload, but Geek Fam maybe just want to disengage here. Edward misses, whips into the backside, and now Geek Fam smell blood. Luke looking for one. The final slash to knock Edward out of the sand guard. And wait, Marky to the backside with a blazing weapon. He's taking a lot of damage. Able to flick back with the BMI. Blacklist International might have to lose this tower for the sake of the team.
What a play there by Geek Fam, again, finding opportunity. Even though Blacklist International sniffed blood, thought they could get Beloyski. Geek Fam was able to chase OHEB.
Another wild slash on OHEB. Flicker! Luke, the stone, under the tower. He's gonna go down for that, but it is worth it today.
Oh, again, Luke has been on point this entire game. Actually, the entire series so far, and right now it's Blacklist International trying to struggle to stay in this game. Nearly 7,000 gold deficit to work from.
Stone cold. Mr. 315. Add another chapter to the book of Luke as his legacy grows here in the series against Blacklist International. Committing the flicker just to ensure that kill. He goes down. But now, Geek Fam, they have a little bit more space to work with in terms of getting turrets, getting inhibitors down.
All right, Geek Fam trying to move in. They get the stun on to Sensui. Sensui gets heavy spin though, but then Owen's Fury helps Geek Fam. Blacklist International finds Niall though. And now Edward with the Raging Sandstorm looking for a boy. The black shoes are already gone. He will go down. Marky in with the Blazing Duet. Blacklist doesn't want to keep the fight going, but at least they keep Geek Fam away.
So there's still some fight back from Blacklist International. They're trying once again to allow OHEB to get online here. Real quick, how's the items looking?
All right, so it's still an advantage for the Claude here. Up to, okay, so since we actually had the rush of Blade Armor there, also up to a Radiant Blade Armor on the Baksha. The 2 Dominance Isis on the side of Geek Fam are causing a bit of trouble here for Blacklist. We see, I believe that's a rush into the Malefic Roar by that Khalid. So once that Malefic Roar goes up, he's going to be like one of the biggest damage dealers for Blacklist International. It has to be because UA had to go for a more utility route, deciding to prioritize the Necklace of Durance as his first item, which was understandable, and then going to a Lightning Truncheon.
This is crazy too, as you're looking just the damage dealt so far from the members from Geek Fam. That's something that they have to work from, right? Again, when you have this kind of lead, that's kind of what you expect, but itemization-wise will fall into place the further they get into the game, especially if Blacklist International can kind of stall things out a little bit longer, right? We're still working with the fact that you really have to allow OHEB to get to this point on this carry. You already saw that Wind of Nature being picked up by Marky, going to give him some of this upper hand in a lot of these skirmishes and team fights as they break out, not to mention working around the Minoan Fury and avoiding the final slash from Luke, which has been on point. Edward also trying to bring up some of the damage, right? Picks up a Malefic Roar here to provide, once again, that burst potential to possibly put pressure on Geek Fam as this second Lord is now worked on. Blacklist trying to get in position here. Edwards staying in that mid lane, trying to clear that out. As the Lord dance ensues, we got to keep a track of the positioning. Luke, not even a part of this so far.
Yeah, and one thing about OHEB is he's got the Trinity locked in. He's got his 3rd item locked in. He is officially a threat to the team, but Marky trying to lock on you, maybe force out that Netherrealm a little bit early. Geek Fam taking this slow. They know they have the advantage in the lanes. Blacklist International doesn't want to give this Lord up, though. A nice final slash. Lands on a Sensui. Bloisky able to get the knockup as well. Oheb now making the charge in.
Whoa!
Wait, a 5-man knockup. Luke into the backside though, locked on to Marky. Marky forced to be away. Bloisky goes down first, and Oheb's unloading. Niall looking for it. Can he get the retribution? No, Sensui takes it. Blacklist International back-to-back games, turning things around.
We talked about the Book of Luke, but add another chapter to the Book of the Lord, knocking up people at the worst possible time. You saw there, Geek Fam, Beloyski had the setup with the Minoan Fury, but then the Lord said, hey, I could set people up too. Doesn't matter who I knock up. And then add Edward entering into the back line of Geek Fam. What looked to be really great for Geek turned out to be an unintended disaster just because the Lord's knockup went up in time for Blacklist.
And now they make their way down the mid lane. Lord marching in the bottom. Geek Fam still ahead here in terms of economy, but you can feel that bite now from Blacklist International. You saw it too. Edward picking up that Malefic Roar helped put pressure enough to have Marky pop the Wind of Nature. Get a boy to use that Black Shoes. That's part of the plan here for Blacklist International. And then the follow through from UA with the Nether Realm really helped them get that advantage. Lord's gonna go down here, not before it gets that charge in, but now Blacklist International has some space to work around.
My boy doing a good job at trying to fend off the mid side there as well. Blacklist International just equalized this game.
Are we going to see another Game 2 situation here, lads? Back and forth, pendulum. You want that, Trex?
It's already been there. We're already there.
We just met that criteria.
Yep. Gold lead gone.
Yeah, this is the reality we live in, and I couldn't ask for anything better. Now, let's see how these two teams will tell another beautiful story of who wins a crucial game number 3 in this elimination match here in M5. As we look at the items, full build. No, still waiting on the last one there for the carry. Already up to a Sea Halberd, actually. Is that Claude? So Marky's damage will hurt his poke damage. Sensui, and of course him being one of the frontline vision givers for Blacklist International, has to be a little bit more careful now. Make sure that he has Renegade with him when he goes for those vision plays, and the timing of Edward. This Khalid becomes deadlier and deadlier as the sands of time falls down the hourglass.
Already looking at this damage dealt, the boy has been on top of things here. Picks up a Divine Glaive on top of it. So he's going to hurt even more a lot of these team fights. Once again, as you look at these team fights unfold, which are at this point, we're probably only going to see them really around the Lord, right, for the dance, because both these teams, even looking at that head-to-head earlier, we saw how much they kind of prioritize that. And with Blacklist International favored for a lot of those utility dances, those fights going on, that's even where Edward becomes more crucial, right? His patience to use this Raging Sandstorm is going to change a course of a lot of these fights. The same can even be said for Beloyski on the other side, or Luke, right? It leaves up to the roamers, these XP laners. How do they unfold from there and initiate? And that's why you see, if they can get a pick off, it's even better. But so far, the stalemate happens. Lord's up, both teams rotating there to get there for this dance.
All right, Geek Fam. I feel like this is a kind of, we're getting to do or die for them a little bit, right? Oheb is coming online. Edward just locked in the Blade of Despair. Geek Fam does have some great answers to Blacklist International's comps, but so far when we get into this late game, Blacklist International does seem to control the pace a little bit. Now with Lord down to 50%, Edward into the backside looking for a boy able to pop the Black Shoes. Luke holding Blacklist at bay, but they don't want to stop here. Netherrealm is still in play, but there comes Minoan's Fury.
A boy!
Respond back to Edward, able to find a boy. Marky to the backside with a blazing duet. Bloisky goes down. Luke is going to be next on the chopping block as Edward picks up the double. Niall trying to get the play. Sensui takes it from his fingers. Marky all alone against Blacklist International now.
Patience is the key here. And once again, Blacklist International turns things around and they march into the base.
You mentioned do or die. It looks like it's do for Blacklist.
All right, Blacklist coming in. They've locked onto the base. Marky with all he can. Cannot withhold against the agents.
They did it again. The pendulum swung, but this time back to Blacklist International it goes. 2-1 in the series. They get to match point.
Patience
Again, we were waiting for the timing, the timers. Khalid having that BOD, him going to the back line to force out the Black Shoes. The perfect positioning, the perfect Nether Realm. Though it looked good for Geek Fam, they could have had a shot. It was Blacklist who takes that game.
Again, as things settle here, we're gonna have it further broken down over on the analyst stand. Leo, Mirko, what happened here?
Do you really want me to do the thing again?
It's match point for Blacklist International, and your thing isn't working. You can try all you can, but it's in the hands of our athletes right now as Geek Fam push the tempo, play really fast in the early game with Blacklist, again, much like in game 2, figuring out the tempo, trading where it matters, allowing for them to recover and make for a run, a final turn, a huge comeback in the mid-game to take game number 3. Sitting now at match point in this best of 5.
Is that adaptation, that really quick adaptation from Blacklist International, where they weren't able to completely utilize the ADP, the anti-disaster protocol in game number 1 due to the tempo that Geek Fam were taking the game in game number 2 and especially game number 3. You could definitely see that minimalized losses kind of gameplay start to work out. They were waiting for those power spikes, and when it hit Leo, it made the MVP go crazy.
It was ham when Sensui actually pushed back where he needed to push back, pinned down who he needed to pin down, and hit the retry and even give Nile a run for his money where it mattered. If you'll remember, there were moments in this game where Nile was trying to, force Sensui. See how sharp really his retribution was, and, he learned.
He definitely learned, right? Despite game number 1, game number 2 not being the best Sensui we've gotten so far, especially after seeing MPLPH, game number 3, he's back. Sensui, the Sensui that I said is going to be the retry god of the tournament. It really seems like you give him the tools, you give him that space, you give him a 50-50 even, and he'll do it, just as long as he ain't stunned down. And I really like the choice of the blade armor here for Sensui, right? He knows he's gonna get hit hard by the likes of Geek Fam. Anyone from Geek Fam, especially the Claude, will try to poke him down, will try to get him off, and try to force out a heavy spin. So the fact that he had that blade armor, might as well. If you're gonna dish out damage to me, I'm gonna poke you back.
You're liking that item build. I like his emblems, man, especially his talent. The concussive blast might be the secret to how he's so good at hitting retributions, big ticket objectives. We'll see here in the highlights that the early game wasn't really for Blacklist. There was a spotlight final slash here by Luke. All right. Oh! Even I felt it. Even I here at the stand, you and me were like, ooh.
And this was the exact moment where Mr. Wagner himself gave Luke the new moniker.
That's right.
The Stone. If we can have Dwayne The Rock Johnson, it's only fair that we get Luke the Stone Jackson.
That's him now. He is him. But unfortunately,
he isn't him enough.
That kind of tempo was quelled by Blacklist International, not only by Sensui, because again, he had key hits on the heavy spin, but also Yue with the Nether Realm, and of course here, that turn, that miraculous turn, wherein the Lord helped Blacklist International. You know what else Mr. Trek said, Mr. Wagner?
What did he say?
Divine Retribution. It was with the help of the Lord that Sensui secured it and turned the fight around.
That was truly the Divine Retribution coming in from Blacklist International. But really what it all comes down to in these Lord dances isn't really anything too deep, right? There was nothing, there was no even feints coming in from Blacklist. They just stayed true to that efficient gameplay. One man makes a call, go in, fight for the Lord, the entire team goes in. It ain't that deep, but it's what works. For Blacklist International, they have been more, I would say, decisive compared to Geek Fam. It always seems like Geek Fam are so confused during the Lord dances. They want to go for it, but then they also want to pull back and reset. And in the end, when you're indecisive, up against a decisive Blacklist International, they're going to take it from your hands.
Yep, what comes into play here is it doesn't matter who's first. Because again, for what, 9 out of 10 objectives in this game, it was Geek Fam pulling the trigger first. But what actually matters is who does it best. And so far, Blacklist have read into the situation so well, and as you can see here, this is the Blacklist special. You put Wilderness Blessing on the roamer and the mid laner, and it's this duo that protects what matters. It's what allows OHEB to double lane very effectively, and what allows Blacklist to answer back again, set up for these amazing trades.
And I love the fact that Edward here, we also see a bit of adaptation from him. In both the games, even in this game, I would say Luke had a little bit of a better laning phase, but you could see here with the choice of the emblems, going for the Master Assassin definitely helped him get on his foot a bit earlier in the game to get that Khalid rolling across the map, and that's exactly what we saw. The Khalid turned out to be an assassin in that late game. It was no longer the fighter Edward. We're seeing Agent Zero go full assassin mode. Look at those items.
He's taken a few pages from the book of the Hitman. Now, check this out. Aboy, 2 of these deaths, a majority of them, if not the kill directly going to Edward, was caused by Edward. So if you want to play a Khalid the way Edward does, check it out. Get his emblems, get his items, is because it was such a lethal threat. I think the fact that he can get away with it and even survive because of the quick sand guard and the way he can disengage and engage with the Raging Sandstorm allows him to be such an important part. Because look, Luke, as soon as he gets the final slash, he's done. Edward can go in and out.
Back and forth. Not only because of the quick sand guard here, but this is why you can definitely see the masterfully crafted draft by the coaches of Blacklist International, because how they were able to go back and forth, aside from the quick sand guard, was also the Rafaela pick that literally just goes to show you the full circle of the draft. That's why Edward was given the opportunity to go full damage. Sustain, they've got it. The whole team's got it with that holy healing, always connecting to 4 or more.
And not to mention the Netherrealm. You put the Purify on Yue just to make sure that he's the final line of defense between a disastrous team fight and a winning one. And then you also have the likes of, again, Renegade setting it up, helping go in for these finishing maneuvers, which, by the way, I saw a good, solid 2 or 3 FHBs. Flicker Holy Baptisms really turned team fights around.
It really did, right? It's such a small ultimate. It's very hard to find a big moment, but Renegade just finds it. Maybe it's the Hitman in him, but if we take a look at the DD, the damage dealt here, definitely Edward. Like, what the heck? This isn't what you're gonna see usually in ranked games, in competitive games. It's ridiculous. The fact that a boy, by the way, was the main damage dealer gives the Khalid even more value, right? The fact that he was able to bait out so many of these black shoes early on basically forces a boy to do no damage in these team fights. He's always going to try to just poke Edward down, try to focus on the front. He can never dive to the back, and that's why you can even see OHEB get a lot of damage dealt going behind him as well.
And not just that, the fact that Renegade was there to make Edward's job a little easier. We were talking about how Aboy, with his little DPS, DOTs, was almost doing close to nothing in the late game. Talk about Marky. Marky was trying to gun down Khalid, trying to gun down Edward, and it's as if the damage reduction from the quick sanding wasn't enough. You get the healing from Renegade. What's crazy exacerbates the situation.
And what's crazy is the fact that, Leo, Valoisky loves this hero, right? The Rafaela. You would expect Valoisky and Geek Fam to be able to understand how to play around the Rafaela. It has to be something different that Blacklist is doing with this Rafaela composition. Don't know if it's just the individual spacing or the fact that they clump up and make those decisive maneuvers together so well.
There were layers upon layers of big ticket ults in Geek Fam's lineup. And again, in the early game, as soon as they got those green dots, as soon as they hit level 4, they got the go signal. But think about it. If you spend all of your ults and your opponents have the answer for it, a well-placed flicker or a purify to find the re-engage, they got you checked. And I think that's why the swing came in mid-game. Because if you look at Blacklist International's lineup, it's super layered. There's so many ways for them to back off, find the re-engage, and then clap back. So now the question is, what does Geek Fam do now that it's match point?
For Geek Fam, I honestly feel like they need to just start getting more decisive, right? They need to find the proper call and follow it through to the end.
With that said, let's throw it back over to our casters on desk. Let's get into game 4.
Thank you very much, Leo, Mirko. Great breakdown there once again. It's been a great series. If you're just joining us, I'm Naisu. This is Trex and Renmar, and we are now facing a match point here for Blacklist International. How are we feeling?
I mean, what more could we ask for right now? It's 2-1. Hopefully it goes all the way, but these teams are duking it out right now. I mean, just full-on blows.
Yeah, the Filipino in me is kind of wishing, let's please end it here. My heart can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
But the MLBB esports fan in me says we deserve a Game 5 after what these two teams have shown. It's been a fantastic series.
I'm expecting a Game 5, right? But let's see if they can adjust, because there has to be adjustments from Geek Fam. But before we talk more about what's ahead of us, of course, we want to once again mention the TikTok drops happening right now. All you guys have to do is pull up M5 on TikTok and just watch for 5 whole minutes if you want to. There's a TikTok viewer chest. But if you want to go further, watch for 20 minutes. And you can grab a deluxe chest for you guys. So again, big shout out TikTok, watch over there, and join us once again, because there's only a couple days left here from M5. Now, as we reel it back in, Game 4 ahead of us, Geek Fam. Of course, throughout the series, we have to pretty much talk about the fact that it's been a back and forth, right? There isn't just one team obviously dominating one game or another from back to back, but really, when you're at this point in the game, knockouts too, is that what you expect? Are we seeing the series here unfold as we've expected between these two teams?
I mean, there is one thing to definitely pull out, and that is, yes, it's been a back and forth, but the 2 games that it's gone into late game, Blacklist has come out on top. I feel like the side of Geek Fam needs to work on those closeouts.
Yeah, now let's take a look at the evolution of the Hitman. Of course, his career history and achievements started off under Next Play Solid and Next Play Eve. Was a long time loyal member there. Season 8, they peaked a 4th place finish there. Now, starting Season 11, of course, he joined Blacklist International. Still, we didn't know if he was more XP laner, more roamer, but then now here he is, shining in the role of the roam, being able to fill in the shoes of the queen in his own name, in his own style. Blacklist International, and I know the agents are very lucky to have, and very proud to have Renegade in their squad.
You know, when you look at that achievement list, right, and really where Renegade's kind of fallen into a place here, you have to look at those earlier seasons when, yeah, they were, 4th to 6th place finishes, 7th to 8th, but really, if you talk about the whole mental state of these players and what they go through from, the challenges, the adversity, right, when you're placing, though, and being able to stay consistent, stay with, this sport, the esport, the drive to get better. Like, that's what that is, right? And then, again, look at the fact that Renegade himself said, well, I adopted this championship mindset. That was one of the big things, and I think even though he went through, the ringer through his early career, it was establishing that foundation of who he is as a player and really letting him shine, right? This is where personality comes into play, the play style, and then when you refine it with a championship mindset, when he came into Blacklist Season 11 and then 12, and where he is now, you see it unfold, right? And when you're watching them play as a unit, they have adapted themselves. They have evolved themselves throughout the course of just this roster alone, right? So once again, as they kind of get ready here for this next game, this is another big step for the whole team as a whole here.
Yeah, I mean, and when you talk about consistency, Blacklist is definitely the epitome of it. Back to back to back, showing up in World Stage, 2 back-to-back Grand Finalists. I mean, just all over the map, this is the team to look at. Now, can Geek Fam actually pull off the upset of their lifetime right here? First time on the World Stage, going up against the Titan of Blacklist International. This has to be one of the hardest feats they ever try to compete.
Well, we'll find out. Once again, jumping in the draft here. The next game is going to be crucial for both these teams as the band's already coming out. You can already see it, the Valentina, Guinevere. Going to be taken out from Geek Fam as they're on the blue. We have Blacklist International on the red. Joy already going out of here. Once again, priority being the question for Geek Fam. Or do they want to go ahead and take Nolan out of the picture?
Okay, their Assassins still getting taken out here. In terms of priority first picks, let's see how different it is going to be this time around. I'm trying to go through the picks in my head. Usually it's a... We look at the bands, hunting the Guinevere, Matilda. Nolan's been taken out. Might end up being a unique first pick here.
What if they actually just went Lilia again?
I mean, it's,
it worked. Technically, it was working pretty good.
Lilia or Bruno? Actually?
Lilia Bruno, yeah. That's what I'm feeling, right? Yeah. Really given the last band here from Blacklist International, priority-wise, that's typically what you're seeing. Bruno's, Lilia's.
It's definitely been up front, and I don't think, Geek Fam, the draft wasn't really the problem last time, right? There was definitely something. Ooh, Blacklist says no. You're not going to get that this time. But it could be actually good for Geek, because even though they had a good early game, there was still some issues with the overall draft. UA was a huge problem. In the end, OHAB was a huge problem. Edward was a huge problem. And Blacklist knew those things were going to be problems. It just wasn't going to be a problem in the first 5 minutes, right? And they were able to buy time. So I think Geek Fam needs to also consistently think about what are they going to have as answers in the late game to deal with Blacklist.
Yeah, you mentioned something there, first 5 minutes. If ever this is going to be a Bruno or Baksha first pick for Geek Fam, Blacklist will take the other. So, like, for example, first pick Bruno, then one of the first picks on the side of Blacklist is the Baksha, but no, it's none of that. They go Faramis. They're going into their favorite picks here. A boy made a name for himself in MPL Indonesia Season 12 with that Faramis pickup as one of the staple and signature Geek Fam picks that led them to the grand finals of MPL IDS 12.
I think it's a good choice, especially considering the fact that they banned out the Valentino, right? You go ahead and pick up the Faramis. You don't have to worry about going against another Netherrealm for now, right? And interestingly enough, too, usually the answer, once again, one of the answers for the Netherrealm is the Lilia, but it was Blacklist International that banned it out. So interesting how that interaction goes. Now, once again, Blacklist, how do they want to deal with that? Do they lock up their jungler already? They're going to take the Bruno, and once again, they go with the Akai here.
I was honestly expecting them to possibly pick up the Claude there as an answer to the Faramis, but Blacklist have faith in OHEB. They decide to go for the Bruno. We know the damage is there, but in my mind, Blacklist still kind of lacking an answer to the Netherrealm.
Yeah, so that's where we might actually see the XP lane pickup being something like high damage in terms of the Lapu Lapu, or displacement in terms of the Arlot, but then paired up with the Akai, that's where you get your answer for the Netherrealm of Geek Fam. So Geek Fam take the next two best picks up on the board. They get the Baksha. So now you have the Baksha Faramis combo that, of course, want to set the tempo, go around quickly, and then you have Marky on the Claude here, which we've seen him perform very well so far with in this series.
Okay, again, the XP lane has been a constant question throughout the series. We know the impact that it can have. We saw the Khalid the previous game, how much it can turn the tide of some of these fights. Is that something once again? Wow.
Oh, nice.
All right, I wasn't expecting this. Hey, but I'm happy. We're still in the knockouts too, and Gord's still coming to play.
And it's still a 50-50 win rate. So I mean, it's not like it's a horrible pick. I mean, it's not the best pick, but it's not the worst either.
So now Blacklist, alongside taking those out, now have to watch out for some very terrifying picks on the side of Geek Fam. They can go Yutong, something that can chase out the Gord and the Bruno, make sure they can make the most out of that Petrify. They can then... anyone with Dive, really, who could just easily get to that Gord.
The only thing that bothers me about the Gord here is the fact that, like, pressure-wise,
the priestess of primal lightning,
in terms of, when you try to set up with a Mystic Gush, you're working around a very mobile lineup, right? Claude, you have to work around the fact that Faramis is probably going to pull you around. You can have, of course, Nile rolling in from different directions. So, timing, positioning, even more important here with the Gord locked in. But yes, it does also solve a pretty good problem and provides quite a bit of damage, early to mid-game, especially these objectives they're going to be focusing on. But you can already see it too. A lot of these roamers being taken out. Again, what is Beloyski going to bring to the table? The Ruby pick is gone here.
So usually Gord is an answer to heroes such as Valentina that, of course, you'll have to expand dashes and things like that, mobility to get away from the range of his Mystic Gush. So it feels like Blacklist International are just turning off the idea of Beloyski picking up something like that, or something to counter it. It's like they're thinking ahead already of whatever Beloyski will pick, and that's their tackle. So with a Minotaur taken out, Kali taken out here, could be Lapu or Lapu or the Paquito for Edward looks and sounds good.
Because Geek having a Lapu in Luke's hands right now looks great against a Gord, right? He's just and he's much easier to reach than many other long rangers, but instead they go for the Terizla, also solid. I think we definitely see the Lapu from Luke.
Yeah, you know what hurts? Getting a penalty zone and then a Mystic Gush into it, right? So that can line things up really well, especially when you're just playing around the Netherrealm itself. if you don't want to wait for it, then just force it out, for the most part. And a lot of times that penalty zone initiation, let's say you get 3-4 members, 2 or even 3, you're going to force, possibly that Nether Realm, and then the Mystic Gush is there. Not to mention Worldy. Now, Worldy doesn't do that much damage, but it's still definitely a threat. And once again, the only thing that could backfire so far from Blacklist International is usually the heavy spin, right? You really have to kind of play around that. Make sure that you're not messing up with the positioning either.
Sensui does pretty well at that, though, I do have to say.
Yep.
There's a Lapu, as we talked about. And there is the Arlot. They get the displacement.
Wait, Rome Arlot, huh?
Yeah, it looks like it. A Rome Arlot for Baloyski. Does this mean we'll see another Rafaela for Blacklist? But the problem is it's going to be difficult. They need something a little bit tankier, and Blacklist Geek Fam took out the best pick possible in the Minotaur.
This is where the KDA thing happened, too. It was with the Rome Arlot. Well, it was one of the instances. Right?
Don't you put that in the air, Ricky Bobby.
It's there. It's in the air. It's got to be. We got to get to a game 5, Trex. My friend. Right? Last pick here.
Oh! Right. Of course.
You can hear that the crowd likes it.
Wild.
Yep. They love this hero.
Can he do it again? Can Renegade win the hearts and minds of people and say that I can play a hell of an Estes as well? He did it already earlier this Sem 5. Can he do it again in this crucial game?
The heel man.
The heel man is back. Gonna be quite difficult though. This needs perfect Ube playstyle by Blacklist. There's so many pieces on the side of Geek Fam that will give them a lot of trouble.
A lot of answers.
A lot of answers, a lot of questions here. Rizal Memorial Coliseum, we're getting ready. We're at match point for Blacklist International against Geek Fam. If they're able to win here, they move on. They send Geek Fam out.
5 seconds till the enemy reaches the
And they are ready as we get prepped up in the Land of Dawn. Once again, can Geek Fam answer to extend the series to Game 5, or will Blacklist International end it here?
Ube Classic by Blacklist International. This might take some time until we see some big plays, but we already see Renegade and Baloyski. As Renegade is just helping out Sensui in the jungle, taking a fair bit of damage as expected from a Rome Arlot. So we're just gonna be waiting for the next turtle. Honestly, it's like the next turtle or the next few seconds before the next turtle, because that means someone's gonna be going into the EXP lane, pressuring out an XP laner, a little skirmish, and then that determines who gets the turtle, or that doesn't happen, it's just a full-on fight on the turtle. Full sustain for the Arlot, by the way.
Seeing Renegade on this, it just goes to show his evolution as a roamer overall and how much he has grown with this team, with the rest of these players. Definitely the story to be told, but when we look at the map, Geek Fam, this is kind of where they like to be in this laning phase. Blacklist forced to take a much more passive approach due to the SDs and due to the gore.
Yeah, I like the fact, too, that he plays with Quantum Charge, because it also allows a little bit of aggression, for the most part, on how you're trying to position this SS pick once again and really follow through on a lot of things. Even if it's just to catch, the members from Geek Fam and slow them down a little bit, could work in their favor. Now, once again, you're working with a lot of just AoE pressure here. For them, for against Geek Fam, and they have to kind of work around that. Now, the tools are there. We've seen them do it before, and even having, already exchanges. Baloyski, that's the thing.
Ooh, the stun connects. Forced to use a flicker. Will be able to get away, but that will put Blacklist at an advantage for this first turtle.
Yep, you and Edward helping each other clear lane. They want level 4s across the board. Aboy already level 4, Renegade. When he clears that menu wave, let's see if it hit 4. Who'll get this first turtle? Game number 4.
Oh boy, gonna try to keep Edward away. Niall keeping close to the turtle. Baloyski looking for a little bit of an engage into the backside loop there as well. Baloyski gonna make his mark. Gonna try to come in, but Niall takes it. And now sends away. Luke with the bravest fighter looking for Edward. But he's taking a face full of magic gush right now. But he finds it. Renegade goes down, and so does Sensui. Geek Fam coming out on top.
Right out of the gate again. It's Luke. He is him right now. And Geek Fam able to sniff out an opportunity again. The layer layering of abilities. When you're up against a heal comp that wants to stick together, you have a lot of displacement and crowd control. If you can time those together, you give a lot of difficulty for a lineup that Blacklist International drafted. And again, it's the same story so far in the first 3 minutes of this game compared to the previous game, wherein Geek Fam acknowledged the strength of their lineup against Blacklist's lineup.
All right, not only because I'm a Gord stan here, but I'm really curious on the build path this time around for UA, right? Usually when we see Gord pop up throughout M5, we actually see some variation, some flexibility in that build that they approach the game, right? The fact that a lot of this, you're going to try to land those projectiles, get those little stuns out, of course, kind of work around that. And they're still going to be putting the pressure here once again, top side. All of this really allowing OHEB to farm up the best he can against Marky, who, as we've said throughout the series, has been quite the lane to be in, right? The duking it out against each other.
Okay.
Right.
Ooh, good stun.
Ooh, nice pullback on a Sensui there. Luke brings out the bravest fighter, able to get right through that heavy spin. Blacklist are able to disengage though, but it's 20 seconds till the turtle, and Geek Fam are going to take control of the pit. A little more back and forth in the mid side. Geek Fam showing who's boss.
Getting another example of just Beloyski holding on to that final slash so well. They almost caught out Sensui, forced out the heavy spin. So this turtle looks like a free one for Geek Fam. It's going to be difficult for Blacklist International to get there in time.
Okay, already just going to go ahead and use that Mystic Gush, put the pressure where he can, but they might just be given the call, right? Just go ahead, give up these turtles for now. We are not where we need to be to team fight yet, but they're actually going to make a line towards this bottom lane. Might be looking for their own play here.
Oh, Marky with the Blazing Duet, just trying to clear out these waves and get back to safety. Able to pull it off. Geek Fam's rotation matching Blacklist.
Yeah, and now, good defense there by Geek Fam. Next rotation and sequence might be around the mid lane. Let's see if Blacklist will actually continue the pro. Oh, Edward!
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Approval.
That was nasty, bro. That was oh, this is nasty.
Beloyski forced to use a flicker right before the fight comes with a final slash on a Sensui. He is going to get pinned against the wall. Able to dash back. OHEB takes the tower, and Blacklist walk away safely.
That's all part of the plan, right? They got the turret. They made it work. Not to mention, once again, UA. He might not be getting kills right now on this Gord, but he's definitely putting pressure where he has to. Sometimes it's a flicker. Sometimes it's an ultimate. He's doing what he has to do.
Again, it goes back to the idea that we posed in MPL Philippines Season 12 before, wherein we said that the Gord is sort of like a new age version of Eve. It's static, it's an ultimate that zones out, it's not a big box. But then with how US playing it, it's also playing it a little bit like a Farsa, committing the ultimate just to make sure you have an advantage in the tower dives, clearing the minion waves, zoning out. So yes, as a Gord in these scenarios, you don't just hold into your ult, you make the most out of it every time with your team.
Oh, final slash. Speaking of team, Geek trying to close in on Blacklist. They're unable to get the finish. Renegade comes in the nick of time.
Okay, the heal's there, but they know it's not available anymore. Geek Fam might want to still put the pressure here under the turret, but it looks like they're going to go ahead and call it off. No point even for UA to get there already. Renegade doing quite a bit of healing. Marky gets checked here as well from Edward. They'll have to go back to lane. Turtle going to be up shortly. That's not going to connect.
Hunting right now. Renegade taking a little bit too much damage to the flicker from Luke.
Oh!
Takes 2 lives from Blacklist International.
There's UA. Nothing he can do though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, again, they stayed up there for quite a while.
Yeah, great tower diving, great call by Geek Fam, not giving up on the play. Despite Beloyski missing that final slash, Luke said, hey, I'm him, I got this. And he set that up for Geek Fam really well. Again, another patented tower dive, a thing that we see here in the Philippines, teams such as RSG Philippines, but it is an Indonesian playstyle working very well for them right now as they get the third and final turtle of this game.
Yeah, another great call there from Niall, able to put the pressure on Sensui around the buff, gets the retry out, and easily rotates to get the third turtle. Clean sweeping it right now for the Turtles, for a Geek Fam. That's what's given them a little bit of this edge to work around, right? And with that, Blacklist has to keep that in check because when it gets to these Lords in about under 2 minutes from here, they don't want to just give those up, right? The plan so far is, all right, we give those up, we farm up the best we can. A top lane again.
Oh, big final slash. Sensui gonna get the double man pin on the 2 members. Luke taking a couple shots to the face, gonna have to back off the worldie, bouncing between a boy and Beloyski. Blacklist safe for today.
Surprisingly enough, that it felt like that final slash actually put Oheb in a better position to be able to go away. He was able to just slide tackle on out of there easily, a bit closer to the turret. I understood what Beloyski and Geek Fam were going for there, but it felt like in that scenario, that final slash just helped Oheb a little bit better.
Okay, so Renegade just picked up the Flask of the Oasis. So this will, in terms of, because we already saw the Necklace of Durance picked up, right? So how does this help out the healing situation here, Renmar, for Blacklist?
Well, of course, that allows Blacklist International to just really pop the ultimate of the Estes, and then, oh, wait.
Oh, they're closing in. Oheb taking off the map. A nice NetherRealm does come from Geek. They're going to get stunned up. A boy able to get away, though. Blacklist International move a member, and this is what Geek Fam's doing. Just find one, then one more. Blazing Duet does come in. Yue taking a little bit of damage.
There's Luke.
Niall looking for more. Luke into the backside with the bravest fighter.
Oh!
The penalty zone response from Edward. A nice final slash from Loyski. Luke able to get a stun. Renny J goes down. Blacklist International lose 2 members.
Well, I was going to say, the healing coming out from that Flask of the Oasis, although it might take some time until we feel the full healing effect of that Estes, should be able to help with the initial burst of damage and crowd control that Geek Fam dish out. But again, sequence after sequence, we're seeing Geek Fam layering their ability so well, timing everything together, that even though Renegade gets a good timing with the use of the Blessing of the Moon Goddess, then suddenly Geek Fam just overload the Estes and the heal of Blacklist.
Yeah, well, they actually want to fight this once again. Now that Lord's up, they want to join these fights. Still waiting once again. Yue doesn't have too much damage just yet on this board. He's got the Talisman, he's got the Ice Queen wand. They're going to want to fight again.
Move on to Renegade there. Edward does drop the penalty zone. Yu brings out the Magic Gush. NetherRealm comes out from a boy.
Oh,
Luke taking a lot of damage. Oheb able to get the final shot. And now Edward pushing the engage. Sensui pushes Marky away. A boy goes down. Sensui down. Beloyski down. 2 members of Geek Fam drop. Marky and Niall now on the defensive. Blacklist International with a nostalgic feeling of the last game. Turn things around.
What a great positioning choice there from Sensui to keep Marky at bay.
It's like he told Marky, I can spin better than you. We're both going to be spinning like tops. But the heavy spin, you saw what Geek Fam wanted to do. Set up Marky for a big blazing duet. But it took one big panda and a heavy spin to stop that.
Oh, again, it doesn't matter if the 3 turtles are giving up. Blacklist International, with their team fighting prowess, they're able to pull through, get this Lord, and now they're going to be in charge here. But we're going to take a quick breather from this game as things get situated. Once again, talking about how that team fight unfolded. You saw exactly how it happened, right? Things fell into place. They fell into a certain part of the jungle. It was a choke point, but with the covering of that Mystic Gush, focusing on Oboy, keeping Oboy back, the NetherRealm was worked through. And even when Marky came in, if Sensui wasn't on that side to block him out, that would have been so much damage being spread across a already belittled lineup. They had half health, maybe the heals were already done, and it was a struggle there. So once again, Sensui in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, so far we're going to be seeing a lot of highlights from Sensui, Renegade, but I really want to commend Yue here and his positioning and timing with that gourd, making the most out of the Mystic Gush, the projectile as well, making sure he's getting those stunts in. Dude, Yue right now is just absolutely shining on this gourd, and we really thought that he'd struggle here. He'd have a lot of trouble, but he's timing everything and standing in the right spots, and Blacklist are covering for him so well.
And as we get a little bit further, I'm pretty sure the next item he'd go is probably the glowing wand. He's already got the Ice Queen, so next would typically be glowing. So as it gets further, that's where it starts to provide a little more damage, of course. He is a little more utility, trying to get those stuns off right now, but it's eventually, it gets to the point where, he is pumping out, as I like to call it, the big damn.
One of the important things to notice right here is Beloyski and Luke are heavily focused on the Renegade. Almost every time they engage, they're trying to single out Renegade, trying to get rid of that Estes, and then hopefully the rest of the team collapses. So that's one of the reasons why Yue has been able to just kind of sit there. He's not getting targeted that much. So what do? Do they switch it up? Do they go for Luke and try to get through the Blessing of the Moon Goddess? They're kind of in a little bit of a conundrum here.
Yeah, it's not perfect standing for... Oh, wait, no, it is a perfect standing for Yue right now. Wow. So if this continues on, suddenly Geek Fam are just going to feel the problem of that gourd as we get a great look at our beautiful fans here in the Nizam Memorial Coliseum. Sorry, I just needed to
Are they the ones that shout, Yue?
I think they are. Yue!
I don't know if she's here in attendance today, but I think it's become a thing.
It has been a thing.
I mean,
there
we
go,
got the
there we
call.
go.
Thank you once again. We're going to be jumping into the game. Lord going down the bottom side. That's Blacklist on the play here. Once again, Nile going to go ahead and stop it there in that bottom side. Trying to clear up as fast as they can. Once again, economy-wise, it's pretty even. But right now with Blacklist International able to make their moves around the map, they're going to get some space advantage to work from.
They're going to take the opposite lane, get as much as they can out of this push. One thing to note that, though, is Blacklist International still hasn't cracked into that mid lane at all. It is going to help Geek Fam in some of these rotations. Look at Beloyski, too, just hanging out on the backside. He's waiting for a moment. He's waiting for the team to say, go.
Waiting for that 4-5-man final slash.
Yeah, a big one there. If Yue falls down early, if that gourd falls down early in a team fight or a skirmish, it might actually be a big struggle for Blacklist International. They will have Oheb, but then that applies so much pressure onto Edward and Sensui to make the most out of their abilities to create space, to buy time. So let's see if Geek Fam can get the key target. Right now, it's Yue. Once Yue falls, it might be a little bit easier to actually take down the Bruno, to take down Oheb.
Yep, you can already see it too, as we were talking about. Yue on this gourd. He's getting the items he needs now to lead up into the damage meters. Already, I believe, completing that glowing one as he did, working on the next. So depending on how he decides to build those last two items, if it's the Holy Crystal, if it's Divine Glaive even to pump out a little more damage, to put the pressure on NetherRealm alone, will be troublesome for Geek Fam. So they want to make a decisive action already early on, right? Lord, 30 seconds away or so here, so nothing too much happening. Beloyski, if he somehow, some way, gets a final slash, even if it's just Yue before the next Lord, that is a huge advantage for that Lord dance.
Here comes Nile, looking for the engage here. They know Yue's over by the mid side. Could be a time to get some skills out. Lord's gonna be up in 15 seconds. Gold sitting at, I mean, an exact standstill. Never have these games been so close.
Yeah. It could be up to anyone. Goes down again, similar to what happened in game number 2. One big play, one big moment. As he now go for the Lord dance, we have to watch how the middle minion waves are managed. If anyone will decide to force out or push that topside minion wave, someone on the opposing team has to answer. Nile pushes forward, finds the information where Oheb is at. That's gonna call for a quick little reset by Blacklist. Now that they actually have shown Oheb or have seen Oheb, Blacklist can clear up that lane because they're not like trying to hide or anything. So now they're just going to settle around the Lord again. Watch the minion wave management. That's the biggest story here, top side and middle.
This is one of the advantages as well, having a gourd. You can check the bushes with the projectiles, the injunctions, whichever way you want to have it. Concealed play going to come from Geek Fam.
Royski making his way in, looking for the final slash. Nile on the backside, locking on Oheb. Maybe get out of Blessing of the Moon Goddess. There it is. Penalty zone. The heavy spin. Nile and Luke in a little bit of trouble here, but Sensui going to kind of push them the wrong way. Beloyski looking for the re-engage. Gets the final slash in the backside. Marky with a blazing duet. Logging on to 4 members. Going to get knocked up. Marky forced to back off. Beloy taking a stun. A shot. A ball to the face, and he's down. Geek Fam still trying to come back up. Boy will be up in about 3 seconds. Death counter not too high. Lord still on the field. We're going back and forth.
Back and forth, but right now, Blacklist International in control of this Lord. They should be able to make quick work. Beloyski and Luke waiting patiently, though. Can they get it?
Yue! Taken out. Oheb finds Beloyski. Luke looking for something, but not today. You will not survive. Oheb finds a kill, and the Lord goes down. It's a 3-for-0 trade. Blacklist taking it all.
It feels like a recurring nightmare for Beloyski and Marky and the rest of Geek Fam. Ube, an Estes, a mid lane they can't catch, a Filipino sniper with hella damage, and a Blacklist knocking at the door of their base, about to eliminate the Miracle of Indonesia.
All right, the boy brings out the NetherRealm. They're just trying to buy time at this point, but Edward able to take him out. Blacklist decide not to go for it because Marky and Beloyski are back up.
They still have the
Blacklist
Lord.
don't want to end it just yet. Lord coming down the top side, but enough time is bought. Geek Fam may live to see a few more waves.
Geek Fam stays in it. They keep things under control. They have to get ready, though, for this defense.
It's not over yet. Quick item check. Dreadnought already built up by that Baksha, the damage, Holy Crystal for that Faramis. I'd like to see a Divine Glaive rushed already onto there. It's Bloodlust Axe, actually, Radiant Armor, Dom Eyes, and the Fury Hammer for that Lapu Lapu. 5,000, close enough for a turnaround. But again, can they get to Yue? They can't reach him right now, can Geek Fam. And that Gord is the problem. Can they find the solution?
Ooh, Edward uses a penalty zone, does not connect onto anybody there. He does have time to try to get another one on Marky. Will be able to melt down this Lord, and Blacklist walk away.
They're happy with the 2 turrets in the base. They still hold on to that one in the bottom side for Geek Fam, but Blacklist getting in position, making their way with the next waves that will be pushing in. We could possibly see another force and interaction from Blacklist. Geek Fam, once again, everything available. They have to be ready. Immortality's also going to be online here.
They're making their way downtown, walking fast as Blacklist.
Boy does take a stun. Nile trying to make his way around the
Voloisky!
mountain. Looking for something. For the blessing of the moon goddess, and Luke finds a stun. Edward trying to respond, but the magic dust does come from Yue. Sensui able to get the pin onto Voloisky. The immortality pops, but boy keeps going. Nile there as well. Boy able to find Oheb. Geek Fam coming out for the defense. But wait, Voloisky in trouble, gets another final slash. Can he dash away? He's buying time for his team though. Blacklist are hungry. 3 down, 1 down as well for Blacklist. A boy and Nile all alone against 4. Blacklist International know what's on the line here. Geek Fam as well. A few cannon minions, another wave, but it's 20 seconds until the rest of the team is there. Blacklist International trying to get the finish. Edward able to make the pin onto a boy. Nile against 4, but another wave of minions is coming down the backside. Geek Fam does have the defense. Blacklist trying to close it out. A dynasty may continue today. Blacklist International make it forward.
The stadium erupts as Blacklist International continues on for the M5, taking out Geek Fam.
The clock strikes midnight on the Cinderella story of Geek Fam. A tale as old as time. Another code broken. Blacklist remains standing.
Give it up. Blacklist International showing why they are who they are. A young roster, new faces, but it doesn't change that the org is one of the strongest in the world.
And of course, it's important there, the sportsmanship between the 2 teams, well fought from Geek Fam. An amazing performance nonetheless, but at this point, someone has to go home. Let's go ahead, throw it over to our hosts on stage with our teams.
Wow!
Blacklist International is now sharing a few words with Geek Fam.
But
Geek Fam,
what a comeback para sa ating Blacklist International. And right now we have our Geek Fam from Indonesia. Palakpakan naman natin ang Geek Fam.
everybody give him a big round of applause. Geek Fam, ikaw na lang, Voloisky. What would you like to say to all your supporters and everybody watching from Indonesia? What else can we expect from you next year?
Buat Geek community, terima kasih yang udah dukung kita. And to all the fans here supporting us, the Blacklist fans, thank you guys. And to my family, sorry I didn't give the win, but yeah, I love you guys. Sorry, we will try harder next time.
Maraming salamat po sa nanood sa amin, sa pamilya ko, tsaka sa girlfriend ko. Salamat po. Pasensya na. Babawi kami next season. Mas gagalingan namin.
Sorry for Geek community and thank you. Thank you for the support and sorry for everything.
Thank you for the support. We will come back to Stronger.
And I just want to say for the Geek Fam fans out there, there are no losses, only lessons. Congratulations to Geek Fam for making it all the way to this point. Palakpakan natin ang Geek Fam.
We hope to see you stronger next year. Geek Fam, you may now take your final bow. Your journey ends here.
Congratulations.
And now, let's welcome on stage the winner of this match, Blacklist International.
What a comeback! Wow! Down 0-1. 3 straight para sa Blacklist International. Huwag kayong mahiya, huwag kayong mahiya. Nanalo kayo, nanalo kayo. Yui, unahin na kita. Yui, unahin na kita. Yui, come on. Yui, what can you say about those 3 straight wins? What were the adjustments made starting game 2 at tumuloy-tuloy kayo?
Siguro yung paglalaro namin sa early to late game. Kung paano namin laruin yung laro namin.
Kita mo naman yung adjustment. How about anyone else? Sige, ano tayo? Anyone else? Can you talk about the adjustments that were made after the first match, which really shifted the momentum towards you guys? Yung anong adjustments na ginawa ninyo after game 1 or match number 1, kaya nag-shift yung momentum papunta sa inyo?
Siguro po nung di namin po sinabayan yung aggressiveness po nila inantay lang po namin yung mga power spike na mga hero namin.
They didn't go up against the aggression of their opponent. Instead, they're waiting